to be speaking about today, we need to really be sensitive and understand that people have got diversity of choice in as far as religion is concerned. But one thing that I would want to highlight is to say we need to be as frank as possible as we are deliberating issues, because in as much as we know that we have got diversity in as far as the choice of the churches that we go towards, but the thing is what we subscribe to is the supreme law of the country. And once we realize that there are people who could disguise themselves as church leaders, as Christians, but at the same time they would want to speak against the will of the people or against what is prescribed within the laws of the country, then in as much as that is going to affect those people as beliefs, but I would want to believe it's important that we need to actually call a spade, frankly and honestly speaking, because we have realized that our country is actually being taken to the dogs. Why? Because of people who would want to use religion as the shield. This is why we would want to speak about this. But Dr. Maifa and Elder Chikwana, before we start, I would want you, Dr. Maifa, to just preempt what you think about how our church leadership or our religions are being captured by the regime, and how people should actually be worried about these things, especially as we are getting closer to the elections. Thank you, Dr. Maifa. Dr. Maifa, you are muted.
After having a welcome to the space, and let's contribute and make Zimbabwe a better place to be in, and so that we can all go back there. So in my submission, I just want us to first seriously think of what church is, because some of the things that we see now cannot be called a real church. People have changed, or the true definition has evolved over the years. If we go back to the biblical definition or translation from Greek, it's actually a place where people worship God in truth. But just looking at Zimbabwe, the way I grew up in Zimbabwe, when I grew up many years ago, what I knew as church was something that belonged to no one. That belonged to no one. It was like an organization, and even the leadership would rotate. But what we see now in Zimbabwe is like a personal endeavor, a personal business. Ndakatofa ndine church, my son or my husband will inherit that thing. So I think that's where the problem starts from, Koma Denford and everyone here. I could be wrong. It's my own thinking. So that's where the problem is. And that being the problem, the focus of the church, loses direction. The church was meant to bring people together and to connect people to God and disconnect people from evil. But now the opposite is happening. Having said that, making a church a personal business, it means an individual can think and make decisions on behalf of everyone else, whether the other members are in agreement or not. Not also, if you want, if you don't want or don't agree with me, go away. So going back to our topic, there are several leaderships. There are several leaders of conventional churches and leaders of self-created or we can say ministries, they call them ministries. So it's different. If you follow a ministry, kana uchitevera Masha or Ndijuani Masowe or a person or Ndijubet Angel, then you have to do what they want. But kana ndiri kuhwisiri or kudachi, ndinotongoita zvandinoda and hakuna unganditongesa. So with respect, due respect to everyone without wanting to offend everyone, this is the problem. A lot of ministries have mushroomed in Zimbabwe. So if an individual has wrong indoctrination, then everybody follows. If a person is not doing church for religious purposes, for connecting people to God and for uniting people, if it's a business, then you can have a different motive, maybe a political motive, maybe a financial motive where you gain. Mkoma Denford, for now, let me stop here.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa. And let me also be very clear to our listeners, the speakers that we have here, is to say, as we were actually crafting this topic of ours, the gist of what we intended to achieve was to say, I would want to believe on Wednesday this week we had a situation in which there are a group of church leaders who call themselves the pastors for ED, who actually convened their program at Harare City Sports Center, and they resolved to say we are going to be endorsing ED as their presidential candidate. Fair and fine, that's what they think they had to do, and they actually highlighted that they are going to be making sure that almost every one of their members they have to actually campaign for and vote for ZANU-PF. After that, we also took concern about issues to do with this issue that we are having of the Al Jazeera Gold Mafia expose that is coming out, to say, in as much as we are talking about these pastors for ED, but within the Zimbabwe Council of Churches that we know, our conventional churches, I'm not too sure, I'm yet to be informed if we have had any condemnation, public condemnation from our mainstream churches to say this grand corruption that has been taking place in our country, Zimbabwe. Did they have to go on public platforms? Did they have to go to their congregants? And when I'm saying this, like I said before, I do not want to offend people, but we need to actually come here, share ideas and say, what exactly do we have to do as citizens, and also make sure that our religious leaders have got also to participate in as far as our political systems in the country is concerned. So this is part of what we've got to do. And as Dr. Maifa was also saying, she talked about the that the church is now being individualized. Before I go to our next speaker, I want our listeners and speakers here to listen to this audio. I'm sure a number of us could have heard, but our discussion should also be premised on this. Some of these things that I would want to play here. Just take a listen to this.
Our Father is opposed. We will go and pray. No, the Bible never says go and pray. In the Bible, look at Phineas. Phineas saw somebody committing promiscuity, and he took a knife. And others were kneeling down praying, and he took a knife. Vasina anointing kana one baba yekumusho unoita uchinonetsa iwe paoffice pemunharo wababa wako kana baba, asi baba wako izvo mweya wakarohwa unoti ndonamati munhu ngaasvikirwe usiku onokerwa padhoo Okay, sit down. Let me explain. And now think I know what people think I'm not phones out. I'm not such no pass grow here. You are too nice to be a partaker of the anointing. You are too nice to associate with the money. You are over white. You are over white. Okay. I just video. I see what you know. Because
so thank you very much. I'm not going to be saying anything here, but it is up to the speakers, up to those who are going to come up here to have to make a comment of what you think about what has been said here, and as well as what I just did preempted before. Former champion, I give you the chance to speak. Go ahead. Mkoma champion, you are muted. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello. How are you? Thank you so much for bringing this topic. This topic is some parts that are very, very crucial to do an analysis. I don't want to comment the audio as of now, but what I do like to say is that when we look at dictatorship as a system, dictatorship as a political system that oppresses the people, what does dictatorship believes in? It believes in the elite controlling the population in a manner that benefits a few. So now you have got churches, whatever churches that will be operating in the system of dictatorship as a political system. What do? They are there to entrench dictatorship in one way or the form. Why? Because look at it properly to say, we have those clergy, deacons, and other officials in a church. These are a few number of people, and if you look at the leadership of the church, there is a bit of democracy in. The democracy that is in is only about fundraising and other few things. And now look at it to say, what happens when the church leader dies? When a church leader dies, there is a series of fights that normally happens as a result of death of the deceased church leader, because within the church leadership there is a mechanism of controlling wealth. So these people, they do entrench and perpetuate or even propel what is called crony capitalism. The crony capitalism is just meant to benefit a few. And when you take these points I have mentioned and bring now to the Zimbabwean situation, you can see the role played by churches. What do they do in Zimbabwe right now? Ask yourself this question again to say, why do Mnangagwa goes to churches? It is because Mnangagwa has got a view that churches have got a lot of numbers. So if he is going to campaign in churches, campaign in other certain branches, what is going to happen is that he thinks that that can grow his numbers in terms of the voting population. But with that, look properly to say as well, what do churches benefit from the regime? The churches has been the sender of beneficiaries of farm mechanization in 2003, 2004. And when you look at churches being beneficiaries of farm mechanization, they were given loans and they never paid back. Now, this is where the flaw started to begin. How? Because now churches becomes pliant players of a dictator, and also spreading the same message to its inhabitants or gatherings that comes in and listen to churches to say, oh, if you vote for ED, you are going to have 50 more years on your life. This is not proven anywhere, and this cannot be proved by anybody to say there was a person who voted ED 50 years ago, and that person is now living 100 years after that. There is nothing like that. It's just a way of trying to try to even hoodwink some of the church inhabitants or people who attend to it. So that's where the problem is. Now, when you look at it, the church leaders doing all sorts of evil, raping women, abusing women. We know that Magai has got issues. We know that that young lady from Machaya family died as a result of pregnancy, as a result of attending the apostolic church. All those evils are now perpetuated, and they are now massaged by the current government, because the current government says, oh, we can't disturb where our votes may come from or our potential votes come from. So that's where the issue is now, to say there is a dealing, two-way dealings that is happening. What is going to happen is that the church leaders will now perpetrate any kind of evil and do whatever they can to benefit themselves. But at the same time, they have got a blanket exemption from the government, because they are perceived to be the potential ground of numbers. Now, with that in mind, look at the voice note that you have allowed to listen. You are hearing the pastor, the so-called pastor, a fake prophet, fake pastor say, oh no, go and fight those ones who will be talking about my issue or registering my own wrongdoings as something to be condemned. He doesn't want people to condemn him. He wants to continue perpetuating the elitism that is found in churches and in the country. So in short, what I can say is that the church leaders in Zimbabwe, they mirror the society that we live in, and they try to shape it around to become the same dictatorship that is found in the country. With this, I say thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Koma Champion, for your submission. And from what you have said, and from what I said earlier on, there are two groups of churches in Zimbabwe: the conventional churches and personal ministries, which are like personal businesses. So we have to be careful as a country where we are leading the country to. And going back to what Mkoma Denford played, uh, as far as I know, there are two sides to a coin: the head or the tail. So you can either be the head or the tail. You cannot be both. To say at night, you are now a devil's advocate. During the day, you are Christ's advocate. Kuti movaendera usiku, munovanokera. Why? In the same mouth, cannot glorify God, and the same mouth cannot be, cursing other people or promoting the devil's work. So it's very unfortunate, and I hope this meeting will come up with a solution. What do we do so that church becomes functional, church becomes meaningful towards the development and restoration of Zimbabwe? At this point, I call upon Elder to give his submission. Over to you, Elder.
Thank you, Dr. Maifa. So my submission is, we have got such kind of churches where people are using their institutions for gaining purposes. All right. So these people to join the movement, which is called Pastors for ED, it's for their protection gains, right? They are trying to protect their churches from disband from being existing in the country. And our government use such kind of laws which they implement on those people, which they will say these churches are not in the constitution, right? So they won't continue being churches unless they join that movement, right? We have got our own churches that we know from the past. We have got Dutch, we have got Anglican, we have got Roman Catholic, we have got Methodist, we have got all those churches. I've never seen such leaders of those kind of movement being in that certain person, right? But those who have got their own movements, they are the ones who are in the front. Apostolate and all those kind of pastors who name themselves that they are pastors, right? That's why the Bible says, few are chosen, but many. So it just tells it all. We are into those days. These are the days of tribulation. People will be doing a lot. And such kind of this scenario, it's not something that we should have to say, or we talk about. We know already these people, they're just going there to join that movement for their own cover-ups. These are the same thugs. These are the same thieves. The Bible spoke about them. So we are not even surprised about such things, right? But for the fact of that recording of Hubert Angel, that was I think that was 2019 when he had a press conference with Utawashe. So he said that that was the first let's say the first lockdown of COVID. That's when they have that kind of a press conference. That was before that. So that's what he said. And people, they talk it now, they put it into reality, because these are the same people. They do things before, and now they do such things. People, they reflect them so that see how they are, see how they behave, hear how they talk. So these are the same kind of people. They incite violence. After they incite violence, this is the same way. We cannot be deceived by such people, but you see us, we are brainwashed to a level where most of us, we believe in such people. We believe in miracles. Nobody wants to pray for themselves. Only people believe in a miracle. People love to say, I will go to this church because they perform miracles. I'll go to this pastor because they perform miracles. He heal this person. He pray for this person. So people, they are into that kind of a mindset. It's kind of a brainwashing moment where the Bible spoke about these prophets. There shall be many prophets, and they shall speak my word, and they shall move mountains. They'll do different natural wonders. So we are not gonna say much. We are not going to say much because these are the things that we already know. And you see, the manifesto already started back at home. You see all these pastors, they've got followers. Hubert Angel has got followers in different nations. He's got churches around the globe. Java, he's got the same thing. So these guys have got that kind of a control which they have in them, that they give people what they believe in and people get it. That's why they spoke with the leader. The leader came up with that ideology of like, okay, let me just say this movement is called Pastors for ED. And these pastors will make sure that their congregates will vote for the same leader, which he is there to control and work with them. So it's a lot that has gone on, and there's a lot of signatures which these people, they sign. There are so many documents which they sign for that level and that purpose. So these people, if they cannot deliver what they say, there shall be consequences. because they already signed documents. So it's a lot that these people are trying to cover up for themselves. And these leaders are the ones who are only gaining. The citizens, they got nothing. They gain nothing out of it. But only those leaders are the ones who are gaining, and they're getting something from that. Let me drop with this submission. Thank you, Dr. Maipa.
Okay. So, like I said, Pekutanga and Chiti, when we thought about this topic, in personally, I expected a lot of backlash from different sectors of the society. But the reason why tichida kuti titaure zvinhu zvakaita saizvozvi inyaya yekuti kune zvimwe zvinhu zvokuti when you see them happening, some people say, no, this is sacred, we don't need to speak about. But if you don't speak about such things, zvinoita cancer inoramba iri inongoruma bhonzo kusvika radira pera rese. So it is important that we need to speak out against some of the things that we see are happening. And I see for the people who are contributing, we could be talking about, the apostle could be talking about this thing, but even from within the conventional churches, there could also be issues to do with church leaders who have been who sold out to the regime. The essence or the gist of this issue, according to me, there could. Why is it that church leadership is being used by the regime for its narrow ends? Why am I saying this? The reason being, kana muchiona church leadership ichiudzama congregants ayo kuti imimi nhasi tichashanda tiri tinosapota tinokambenera for ZANU-PF, ende pamunoenda muchinovhota enda munovhotera ED and so on. This is a violation of the provisions of the constitution. So are we saying my church leaders and church, in particular church leadership, them being the moral compass of the society, why are they breaching the provision of the supreme law of the land? Ndinopedzisa ndichiti pane ari kunotaura, I think it's Mkoma Tashinga, ndoda kuverenga this comment that has been brought about by Sister Mercy. Let me scroll down and get to Mercy here. Okay. Mercy says, I have a question. If we say the church has sold out, is there a time where they were involved in influencing from a governance point of view? Examples, please. Please define what action we are calling out so we can get the scope of the discussion. So like I said, Sister Mercy, I'm not too sure if you would need more examples. The fact that the church leadership have actually convened a program to say we are going to be endorsing ED, and when we endorse for ED, as a church leader, in Denford, me being a church leader, akuna munhu angandirambidza kuti ndivhotere ED because this is what I believe. But why would you want to encroach into some other people's rights and say, you being my congregants, so you need also to go and vote for this? Is this not a violation of people's rights as being prescribed by the constitution? So I'm not too sure. This is only one example that I've given. If I have answered the question, and if there's anyone else who would want to also give more examples of the questions that have been raised by Mercy, but that is the issue that I would want to say. I've got other issues also that I will say, but let me thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mercy, for acknowledging that. But Mkoma Tashinga, go ahead.
All right, thank you, my brother. So you see, the issue with churches is not too far-fetched. It's really simple. Look at these. Most of these churches at Notaresana now. Most of these churches are responsible for the death of so many people that in a normal country, they would be questioning, alluding to that. Most of these church leaders would have been arrested had it been we had a proper government. You know, we have churches where people go like suffer from a simple thing as a headache. Usaende kuchipatara, usamwe mapiriti, izodai, always and all that stuff. And that person dies. If you look at them, if we were to do postmortems on most deaths that are arranged in these churches, especially the white government churches, Mawacho, you will find that those people would have died from negligence. On time, or feed something else that has gone to even poison the system. So these people know very well what they are doing. And you look at them, under age 13-year-olds are dying from from pregnancies. You know, somebody just wakes up and dreams that your child is now his wife. Mwana wangu organiza kuchikoro who's 13-year-old, somebody wakes up who's 45, 50 and says, I've dreamt that this child is now my wife. And you say, yes, hallelujah. So be it. People have got this notion. People are widely misinterpreted our Bible. Where people believe that the scenario where the woman in the Bible bleeding went and tied the garment of Jesus and was healed, not proposed to you, going and alluding to your church leader, saying, "Panama ndo panema blessings," where people forget the blessings come from the Lord, not from the person. This person is just a sender. It's just mutumwa atumwa kunoparidza vhangeri. Asima blessings anobva kuna She. Right? So you see, people have been told that if you don't respect your spiritual father, then you have failed to respect God. You know, so people are now worshiping the man more than they are worshiping the Lord. So we have people who would rather follow the man than follow the word of the Lord. They even know and they see that these leaders are going astray, this leader is wrong, but they're afraid kuti vazotanzi maya takatadza kuteerera papa takatadza kuteerera ningi. These church leaders are thieves, most of them. Talk of the Pentecostal churches, they are stealing from the people in broad daylight. You know, it's funny how I'll give an example, somebody comes and talks of miracle money, but then you have that person who's saying they can give you miracle money. They are busy hustling and selling a whole nation so that they can make money. Why don't they just feed on their miracle money? You talk of a prophet who says we are protected from the Lord is our savior. They preach all this to you, but they walk around with bodyguards as they are preaching that to you. And my bodyguards, you cannot come close to that person. And you are there saying, hallelujah, amen, hallelujah, amen. We have been colonized mentally as a people. It is very wrong for somebody to tell you, despite be it your father, be it your mother, to tell you to say, go and vote for Ningi. You as a thinking person, you have the precedence to say, I'm going to vote for this person because I believe this person can push my agenda, can push my dreams forward, can push a better Zimbabwe forward. But these leaders, they are criminals, and the government knows that these leaders are criminals. So they go and show them the evidence of their criminality and say, hey, someone, you know, this is against the constitution. So if you don't support us, we're going to throw you inside. So these church leaders being criminals, what do? They say, okay, so we have to side with these people so that we don't get in trouble, so that our secrets are not alluded into the public. So let's support them. What do? Let's convince our people to support it. The thing that has killed us is this thing of just saying, Amen, Papa, prophesy in Fundis, without questioning. Is it aligning, and where is it aligning? We have Jesus in the Bible who gave us how a prophet, a template of how a prophet is supposed to be, but people still choose to read the Bible and go astray. Church leaders have never supported anything that's just when it comes to the government of Zimbabwe. Most of them have either paid ignorance or have supported that same governance which is corrupt. The Bible says good leaders come from the Lord, and he that worketh in the counsel of evil is equally evil. So to me, these church leaders, most of them, they have supported a rogue government that has killed, stolen, and abused people, which the Lord goes against. That's making them evil. Thank you. I'll learn there.
Thank you very much, Komata Shinga, for your submission. It is very unfortunate, like you said, a lot of people have lost their lives due to wrong decisions because of being, brainwashed. You believe in something that is not accurate and you end up dying. But I also want to say not every Pentecostal church is bad, and not even every church leader is corrupt. But we are saying the majority are. And going back to Sister Masi's question, in general, Zimbabwe is known to be a Christian country. Therefore, it being a Christian country would have expected the church to play an important role to stabilize the nation. But unotoona kuti vanhu vanotoguma vakuti izvi ndezvenyika izvi. They don't want to participate in political decisions. And then in the end, we end up with the wrong people taking leadership positions, being MPs, being councillors, because the church has brainwashed people to say, ah, or what. A lot more can be said there, but let me emphasize, we are not saying, or we are not demonizing every church leadership. There are some good church leaders. Let me not waste a lot of time and call upon Brother Njabulo to give his submissions. Over to you, Mkoma Njabulo.
Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's quite a very interesting subject that is being raised. And I feel sometimes whenever we are going to talk about the church, we should go back to their constitution or the book that guides the church, which is the Bible. So whenever we are going to say, no, the church has sold out, the church has done this, we need to find out, what does the church believe? Because maybe what you have considered as selling out, it is their standard of belief to say, in what we are doing, we are serving the Lord, and we are doing what we are supposed to be doing as the church. Because once you look, you know what really, what I can say is, what really confuses a lot of people is not really the Bible, but it is how people have interpreted the same Bible, and how the same Bible has influenced the way they believe and the way they live their lives. I'll give you an example. You bet the clip that Coma Denford played, it speaks of a story in the Old Testament that when others were praying, this one took a knife and went and stabbed, to ease the wrath of God that was coming upon the children of Israel. So, you see, that was an Old Testament, and some people believe to say, no, we have to practice in order, because we believe the Old Testament is part of, and you'll have others that come in and say, no, we believe in the New Testament. The New Testament, Jesus says, no, love your neighbor and pray for those that persecute you. That's the New Testament. So it's the old verses, because the Old Testament, no, that one, go out and fight with them. But this one is saying, no, pray for those ones that are persecuting you. So how do you judge and evaluate? You will have to judge them according to the way they believe and the way they understand how they should believe and how they should act at the end of the day. Because you'll find we are saying Zimbabwe is a Christian nation, but the definition of Christianity is only found in the New Testament. Yet we have almost 50% of the churches that don't even actually believe and practice the New Testament. You have apostles that don't even actually believe in Jesus Christ, that don't even read the Bible. So how are you going to classify them as Christian and expect them to act the same way with a church that believes in the New Testament, that believes in Jesus Christ? So you're going to have a dilemma, you're going to have a conflict within the same system, where you are classifying the church as one. And once you say the church is only found in the New Testament, not in the Old Testament. So it's a bit of a complex issue if we're going to address it, because once you go to the Old Testament, you'll find there were prophets that prophesied against the kings. But also in the same Old Testament, you have prophets that stood with kings and prophesied for favored the king in the same Bible. So somewhere, somehow, whenever we are going to judge the church, we have to use their belief system in order for us to judge them and separate and say, no, I think here what they did was wrong. I think here, because you'll open a lot of, go on YouTube, go away, social media, you listen to some of these prophets prophesying. Some of them prophesied even during Mugabe's era. I say, no, God has made Mugabe to become the Moses of our time. That was the church prophesying, you see. And yet people are suffering when the church was saying that. So it's a very complex issue in Denford. It's a system of belief. That's how we are going to judge Christians. So what do you believe in? Because someone will tell you, no, God says I should support Itim Nangako. How are you going to detach that fact from them to say, no, you are lying, it's not God? And how do you know if God spoke to them and if God did not speak to them? Some of them, they will tell you, no, God sent me to come and save Itim Nangako and do exactly what Itim Nangako wants, no matter how Zimbabwe feels. Some of them that were there and tell you that are ED pastors for ED. Some of them, they will tell you, and they are not going to convince them otherwise. They will tell you, no, I prayed about this thing and God told me, go and be part of that so that you are able to influence and change the country for the better. And they are there sincerely because they feel.
Sorry, Mukoma Jabulo. Yeah, that one I think I it's very debatable. Indura kuti mundipinduro panyaya kuti Jabulo is a pastor. Une mvumirere yekundiudza ndofana kuvhotera ani kana ndofana kuvhotera ani. That's my major question. Why would you want to tell me who to vote for and who not to vote for?
You see, the issue is that the way it's debatable. If your pastor can tell you what to wear and what not to wear, how to behave, I think also it gives them a certain right to tell you or to influence you on who you can vote for, regardless of how we feel about the subject. But someone who tells you, because you know, in beliefs, when it comes to believing, guys, it's very difficult. I'll say this, then I'll learn to answer your question. Your pastor stands every Sunday and he advises you on your health, number one. He advises you on your social life, number two. But then when it comes to political, I say, no, don't advise me on that one. He even advises you on who you should marry and who you should not marry. Someone that you're going to spend your entire life with, he tells you, Denford, don't marry this one. There will be a problem to you. Marry this one. And we come back to the same pastor and say, no, do not tell me who I should vote for. Somehow, we feel like we are undermining the pastors on what they should tell us on what to do on certain things and not on certain things. And we have allowed politicians, in actual fact, the people that told us that pastors shouldn't tell us who to vote for were not pastors or the Bible, but were the politicians that told us that, because they knew that the pastors have influence to change the outcome in the ballot. So they quickly influence, say, no, pastors shouldn't mingle in political issues. But biblically speaking, all the prophets were mingling in who should be the king and how and where and when and what the kings were supposed to do. It's there in the Bible. Who went and anointed David to be king? It was a prophet sent by God. Who went and anointed Saul? It was a prophet sent by God. You see, who went and announced that Saul shouldn't continue to be king? It was a prophet. You read the story of Isaiah and Uzziah. When Uzziah became king, who influenced that? It was Isaiah the prophet. You see, so some of those things we need to bring in balance. Pastors have a right to influence their congregants on who they should vote for at the end of the day. Because if we feel they can, if pastors can speak on issues of life and death, why shouldn't they speak on political issues? Because they speak to us about heaven and hell, things that we're going to experience internal, but they can't direct us on who we should vote for. Some things that are temporal. We should look at we should bring in a balance a bit. This is my own opinion, Denford. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mukoma Jabulo. And the angle from which you are coming, I get it. Antina, for the next person who is speaking, I think it's Sister Priscilla, is to say, in as much as we personally, I don't have any concerns in as far as the issue yekuti mapastors vangaudzwa here zvekuita, because it's very difficult to prove or disprove. Ndine concern nenyaya yekuti the reason why I would have said church leaders have sold out, inyaya yekuti there are a lot of people, there are a lot of Zimbabweans who believed in the likes of Hubert Angel. You see, what we are realizing and what we are now seeing as the Al Jazeera expose, no one really knew that some of these people are involved in a lot of these things. This is the selling out that I personally think that most of Zimbabweans, I'm sure a number of my congregants, my followers are Hubert. Some of them who have got conscience are now thinking twice. Really, what is really happening? Unlike maybe those other ones who were cheering. But I think I have to let people make the decisions and speak out about that. Sister Priscilla, you are next to go on.
Thank you, Mkoma Denford. You will excuse me, but I think I'm going to speak in Shona so I can express myself a little bit more clearly. Inyaya mataura yamatanga inyaya yaka iri complex, like what my brother Njabulo said. There's a lot of things here that she no contribute ku leadership yechechi kuti itengise navo vavano leader kuti vatrayiwe as well. It's almost a situation of an unbalanced scale here, but sometimes that can also be deliberate, and vanhu vachiurayiwa nenyaya yekusaverenga pachavo. Because if people could read the Bible and explore it a little bit more, they would probably not believe in a man, from a Christian point of view, standpoint of view. Saka ipapo pane problem nokuti kana munhu akati ini ndinobhilivha muna Hubert Angel, zvaanotaura ndozvinoita, munhu iye atogara atorasika. Saka whatever Hubert Angel is going to do, to them Hubert Angel is their God. Saka zviri kutaura naNjavulo, it's absolutely 100% correct kuti people follow what their leaders say, especially when very desperate, like the common person in Zimbabwe. Desperation makes people to make irrational decisions because they're looking for quick fixes, to fix their issues. People are struggling in Zimbabwe and everybody is looking for a miracle. And unfortunately, that's when this church that we see has come in to exploit the poor, to say we are not dorarako uzo sida. We've had this gospel of seeding, haven't we? Where people bring everything that they have to this man. So this man can pray over this money, take it to his house, pray over it, and you expect a miracle urukumba kwako. And I'm sure there's none that has testified to say, I miraculously found $100 at my doorstep because I seeded $1 with my papa. That is not true. Saka vanhu ava tinoona kuti matsotsi, but what does the gospel actually say about this? Ini ndo pandandakasimudzira ruoko kuti we must go back to basics. Who is this Jesus that these people proclaim kuti ndianovatuma kuti vave ivo vanhu vanotungamirira these congregations? In the Jesus that I know is the Jesus that ate and fed the poor. It's the Jesus that never exploited, that despised the rich and those that seek earthly riches. That's the Jesus that I know. Saka, who are these people that come and say, uyaiwe toda kukupa zvakati, kana kuti ini ndiri papa, I hire a car and people should sponsor me. Because ndopanotangira huori ipapo, ndopakatangira kuexploitwa komunhu, because people actually don't read the book themselves. Saka kana uchitevera a man that says, give me everything that you have, and you go back home and otanga kutengesa matomati pasika, I think we need to start thinking long and hard about that. There is a problem. I know kuti Mwari vanopa upfumi, but Mwari havati keep it all to yourself. If these people were genuine Christians and they were genuine Christian leaders, we could have seen them giving back to society. We could have seen, you know, how I'm passionate about that street kid in Bulawayo, in a street corner, sleeping on the cardboard box, he's sniffing glue today. These are the people that were supposed to go in those streets and pull out those children and say, you know what? Ndinema resources andawana kuburikidza negovernment yangu. You know, I'm going to build an orphanage and make sure. But the opposite is happening. Actually finding people that are insulting us. Kuti saka muchaita sei? Ndiri kukubirai hongu. Ndiri kukutorerai my tithes hongu. And who is the fool in this? It's us who follow these people. Of course, the church has sold out. I feel like we should have shouted even louder and denounced these false prophets, you know, to say this is such a disgrace. Thank you, Commandant Ford.
Thank you very much, Sister Christina, for your submission. Yeah, I totally agree with everything that you said. And I want to respond to Mkoma Chabulo and kind of correct you. The pastor's job is not to tell people what to do. The pastor's job is to expose God's truth, and people make a choice, a personal choice. If you force me to do something, it's, you know, if you studied human behavior, if you force to do something or tell me to do something, denotonate opposite. God himself said, this tree or this fruit you shall not eat. What did Eve and Adam do? They went straight for it. So it depends on which school of ministry that pastor went to. I have experience myself with the school of ministry. You are taught basically to expose the truth. Make mutant church member, make a personal decision that they are able to live with. Mangwana vasazoti, ndimukoma Njabulo, Pastor Njabulo vakati this. If it's your personal decision, you can trudge on even in difficult situations. I think Dr. Ranga here, medical doctor, will agree with me. You don't say to a patient, he was a smoker, cancer, 2 years. You just expose the truth. The advantages of not smoking are blah, 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 blah. And if you smoke, 1, 2, 3 will happen. You leave the person to make a personal decision. You cannot control a human being. It's my life. So if that's such a pastor, then a dictatorship yatopinda church, which is not acceptable as far as I see it. So without wasting time, let me call upon Dr. Tadini to ask his question, since he's raising his hand and also give his submission. Thank you, Dr. Tadini.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Marifa. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Tadini.
All right. Thank you. You know what? I think this is one of those conversations where I might be disagreeing with a lot of people. I'll start right off by jumping into the deep end and say every pastor has the right to try and influence their followers to do what the pastor thinks is right. The same way that I, Kadini, have the right to influence my followers, however many they are, whether it's just one, my wife, or it's all the people that follow me on Twitter, or it's the people that follow me at school, wherever it is. I also have the right. But if I have the right to try and influence them, we have to remember that they also have the right to choose whether to follow what I say or not. If we say pastors do not have the right to influence or to attempt to influence, then we are being false as persons. Because if we look up on our different Twitter spaces and our different Twitter posts, at some point we have tried to tell the people who to vote for and who not to vote for. A lot of us have hashtag ZANU-PF must fall. That is us trying to attempt to tell people who to vote for. A lot of us have ZANU vote for CCC. That is us attempting to tell people what to do with their lives, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong. If you can do it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with someone who has a mega church or who has a few people under a tree doing the same. And it does not take away the right of those persons who are being influenced to then make a decision for themselves. All of us, what we do when it comes to the political aspect of Zimbabwe on a daily basis is to canvass for votes. And this is not unique to the Zimbabwean situation. If you see the American election, you heard the prophets proclaiming the coming back of Mukomana, Trump. You had calling angels from Africa. You had all that drama. But on the other side, you also had other Christians who were for the incumbent, the current president of the United States. So if we are being honest, I just can't be that person who participates in trying to mash people's brains. If we're being honest, this is a privilege that everyone has. And I'm answering this question from the perspective that we're talking about all church leaders. You see, not a specific one. Then I'll come to the context maybe of trying to bring a specific leader into it. But inini zvandobvumirwa kuita Saturday ndinobvumirwa kumuka nhasi ndichiti pamberi ne-CCC pasi ne-ZANU-PF musavhotere ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF yakatikanganisira ndinobvumirwa. And people who follow me will actually listen to that message. But they have the right, they would then say, do I want to apply it or do I not? The same can be extended to pastors. Pastors daily basis tell us musabe musaite sei, but azviro kuti patobuda muchechi atibe ndokona kuti pastor achibva ndiudza kuti aiwa musabe handiti ndobva ndatonoba futi zvakanyanyisisa handiti. So the same way I have a choice kumuteerera panyaya yekuba is the same way I have a choice paanotry kundi-influence about what I'm supposed to do for my political with my vote. And it ndochokwadi chiripo. So let's not try and make ourselves more important than pastors by saying we're trying to give limits to pastors. Munhu wese ane influence, even musicians have the right to extend and influence their musicians, their followers to do what they think is right when it comes to the ballot. The question is, if there is a group that seems to have won over a lot of pastors, how do we counter it as opponents? If we are opponents, how do we counter it? And I think the way to counter it is actually building or support of your own. My pastors are not resonating in your message, gather those and have them also speak, because they can also enter into the theological battle against these other pastors that you're talking about. We cannot come in and try to dismiss all of the pastors that have sided with one side as being false. We can't do that. We just seem as if to run a repeater. However, you can have pastors that resonate with your message coming in and saying, no, this practice that is being done is true or false. So the real work there could let us not shy away from politics. What is happening right now is politics. Politics, people canvass for votes, and they canvass for votes wherever they can get them. They will go to a prison, they will go to a church, they will even go to, if they have to, a traditional gathering. That is why muchiona munangagwa anonetsa kuti muziye kuti mukristu here kana kuti is a traditionalist, nekuti n'anga dziriko futi kuningireni to state house and dziri welcome. At the same time, haukwanise kumuti kana kuri kuchurch, is he a traditional Methodist or Catholic, or is he a white garment, a church goer? What he's simply doing there is playing politics. And I think we, for the longest, have been avoiding to play politics. it is only right for us to actually step into that space and say, good, my pastor resonate and message happy. And you notice that with some of these pastors that attend, such as the recently ended gathering of pastors, it's merely because they haven't been approached by someone else and they're doing it to just follow suit. Some of them who don't agree with that did not go, they just went home. And maybe they actually support your party, but you haven't done a gathering of the same to show that support or to try and bring out that support into light, which is what you're supposed to do in politics. It's all about the aesthetics. It's all about who presents as if having the greatest crowd, you see. And so that's what I would say there on the issue, Yema pastors. They have the right, and you also have the right to deny them whatever they think. At the end of it, it's a secret ballot. You go in there, your pastor wouldn't even know if you voted for what he suggested or if you didn't. That's what I just wanted to say. Then, if I can land on this one, I think the aspect of have they sold out? If they were already on that side, they didn't sell out. They're simply supporting the side that they've always been supporting. The question is, where are our pastors to step up to the front and maybe bring it to an argument of saying, you are wrong in supporting this guy because I dreamt of a vision that came from God, or you are wrong in supporting this guy because of what the scriptures say here and there. So they can only have sold out if they changed sides. But if they were never in your on your side to begin with, how can you accuse them of selling out? And this is the problem that we've done in Zimbabwe, putting religion at the center of our politics. Because now you cannot separate. It's not longer about good policy or bad policy. It's now about evil and good. You see, I pause. Thank you very much for the time, host.
Okay, thank you, Tadini. Usati waenda ndadao ndikuvunzewo. But before that, let me just inform our listeners here that this Twitter space is being streamed live on our YouTube on Change Radio. The reason why we did that was also to broaden our listenership, in order for people to understand. Now that we are speaking about issues to do with my pastors, some of them might not be having an opportunity to open my Twitter spaces, and we made it a point that we need to broaden our conversation to the greater Zimbabwe. And in so doing, we realized that soon after the Twitter space, people can go to our YouTube channels, and then they can go and listen to that. It's reshaping Zimbabwe. So please just encourage people to follow us, listen to this Twitter space, go to Change Radio, our YouTube, and then listen to what we'll be doing. But thank you. Going back to you, Dr. Tadini, I hear you, and you are making sense. But did you know that there is this pastors for ED chairperson, national chairperson by the name Idirashe Dongo? She used to be based in Sweden. I'm not too sure if she just moved. So what they are doing is they've got structures across the country. They started in Manicaland, and when they went to the structures, what levels and so on, they are literally getting into different churches, different church institutions, which I believe you see as all right. But now, do we believe that it is something that can be condoned on a situation where these people are coercing the pastors to actually say, come to pastors for ED? They get phone numbers for the pastors, include them in their WhatsApp groups. When those people are not subscribing to what they are discussing, they go out of the WhatsApp group, and then now these guys, they go straight away to their inboxes and threaten them that if you do not subscribe and if you do not do this, then we are going to be giving you all these unspecified actions. So I just wanted you to answer on that, to say, in as much as you said that pastors as general Zimbabweans have got a right to make people do as what they can in order to or vote for which political party, but the issue of coercing people to actually join these groups, what do you say about it?
Now, the issue of cohesion is a different one from the conversation that we're having, or the conversation that I was contributing to. The conversation I was contributing to is whether pastors have the right to attempt to influence. And I maintain they have that right the same way I have that right, the same way you have the right. And then we also reserve the right to listen to them or not to listen to them. Now, specifically to what you're asking me in terms of those people that are using cohesion, havana kusiyana nevanhu vari kurova vanhu muna 2008. That is wrong, and there is no one who should support that. Havana kusiyana nevanhu vari kuti aiwa short arm or long arm kuti tivote parirani. Havana kusiyana nevanhu vari kuita violence kuti why have you gathered for what you call it, for a rally. That is absolutely wrong. But if they were merely canvassing, going door to door and saying, I am says Jehovah's Witness, there's nothing wrong with that if they were merely canvassing. But if you have evidence and if you are speaking to I haven't interacted with this. This is the first time, I think I heard it before, so I would say maybe the second time I've heard that Panama pastors are humanitizwa, join the ED for pastors movement. And if that's happening, that is wrong. And I think it should be brought out in the light, not as something that we talk about in corners, but present the evidence, post it there. Then we actually put it in the public domain because this is how this group is operating. It is a terror group. And identify it as such. But if we continue to hold the information private, then it meant you give the other side the opportunity. It's simply because you cannot create your own rival or a rival grouping. You see, and I ended the rival grouping. The rival grouping is necessary. If people have come up with such a mechanism to campaign in churches, it is only right for the opposition to also do the same. They don't necessarily have to come up with pastors for Chamisa or pastors for Monzora or pastors for Chapman. No, but they can come up with a means in which pastors and religious men can express their support in solidarity where they feel safe. Because what happens now is there is a chance of them being victimized because they are being singled out. But if they had an equivalent group, they also feel safe with the pastor and kuramba. If you can create that for them, you have given them strength. You have given them strength for them to say no outright and also to come outright and say, I support this idea. I don't lean with this side. Chaititaridza kurova mabhuli ndechekuti bhuli aita kunge ane mafesi akawanda ona saka ndaitya kuti even ndikamurova bhuli uyu handitya imwe timu yese inozopindira saka ndaizongomuombererawo maoko achiita zvaari kuita but pakauya shamwari yangu ikati ngatimurowei mufesi uyu ngatirambei zvaari kuita ndakatomuudza kuti unopenga iwo taakukukiya because there was solidarity. Have we provided the space yekuti those that resonate with your message can show their support and can also have a community of their own that gives them the element of feeling safe, you see, so that they can actually oppose. Munhu wese anoda kuopposa, ZANU-PF is doing a lot of wrong, but in most cases they fear to be the one ari kunze kuchando and alone. They fear to be the one opposing as an island without any support. You see, they fear to just disappear and their name is never even known. You see, so it is important for us to create the rival structures, create the rival organization. If you don't believe in your organization or your party being supported, at least from a Christian or a religious point of view, then maybe just do what we did with the Constitution organization. Call it a neutral organization of preachers that do not want to side with a particular political party, but want to speak the truth of politics. If you don't want to be directly linked to any religion. But I don't see the reason why you wouldn't want to be linked with any religion in Zimbabwe, where we have leaders that already profess Christianity as the main religion, where we have 90% of Zimbabweans also professing Christianity, whether we agree on them being defined as Christians or not, say theological argument, that becomes a conversation for another day. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Komatadin, and I'm sure there will be other people who would want to engage you on that. Who is our next speaker, Dr. Maifa?
Hello,
I think it's
can I come in?
I think it's redemption, then
Hello.
CCNF, then the real. And please bring up Nkoman Jabulo. I'm failing to bring him up.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I would ask, am I audible? Because I think I might be experiencing
Yes,
some network.
redemption, you're audible.
Thank you. All right. So here there is a question that should a church, is a church expected to do that? You know, to be used by politicians? I think most people have been answering from that angle, you know. But then I've asked should. Then I want to ask a question and I will answer it that can it be used as an instrument to do that? Yes, it can. Right. So every day I'm guided by the philosophy of Bob Marley. At one point, I will start with that statement. He says, religion and politics are the same because both they keep people in ignorance, and then both they keep they divide people, right? So if a politician, he knows that one of his ways of keeping or staying in power is to divide and rule, then he can also extend that to use a church or a religious group. So at this point, I would want to believe that the church is being used as that instrument, right? Then this thing of saying Zimbabwe is a Christian, what I don't really know what it means, because I don't see it from the onset having influence in our politics, but it has now showing that it can be used as an instrument, not that as an entity on its own it has been having that much of influence, right? I would say maybe in England, Christianity as a religion has been having influence right from the onset, because we all know that the Bishop of Canterbury is the kingmaker there. So in such a setup, I would agree that the entire nation can say, no, we are a Christian nation of something of that sort, right? Then lastly, I think the way we have perceived church in Zimbabwe, it's what now has brought this question. We have seen it as a sanctuary, you know, where we can run for peace and everything, and then where it stands as a neutral zone, far away from politics, far away from any other sort of troubles, you know. And we have like come up with songs like cherokapi zvako kanokunetsa kwekuturira kuriko. We've been pointing the church to be that place, you know. So now we are surprised now at this point. So I understand also at this very time, because that's how maybe most of us have perceived the church in Zimbabwe, that it should be a neutral place, that even if you are pursued by politicians, you should be able to run there to the church. So now I see people now are in dire straits, because just imagine someone who sees that I'm being pursued by ZANU-PF, and then ZANU-PF is also capturing the church. So I understand now we are heading towards a point whereby people will have nowhere to run, you know, because I understand at some point, at one time, there was a time where the police was captured, where you couldn't even go to the police station and report this political party, they are after me. The police would tell you, nesuwa hatitori namasimba. Then the judiciary has been captured, your case wouldn't be dealt with it so fair. Then you will be left maybe with a church now, where you say, oh, okay, I'm facing all this trouble, but now kwekuhanda kuriko kana kuti kwekunoturira kuripo kuchurch. So now the church has also been or has been captured as well. So I think the people are speaking from a point of saying, but now we have nowhere to run. That's what has brought us here, you know. But I think as a solution, if we're gonna play to the politics, instead of just crying, church yatorwa, church yabiwa, the church has been captured, we can just rose to the occasion and look, kuti kune imwewo here church or other religious faiths that we can also use as an instrument. If they can be used, I'm sure anybody can also do the same, unless your conscience does not allow you to do as such. Then maybe we might be losing at this game because of our conscience, which are just so clear. So we have to leave it to how it is playing and just keep hoping maybe one day, maybe that dream will come to be a reality. But if we now just gonna be crying and not rising to the occasion, and also start looking, because if it's gonna be a game of numbers, how many churches so far have been captured? Are there still other churches that is available? Can we also go to them and bring them to our side? If we so believe that the church has that much influence, can we then also start using it to our own influence, to our own gain, to our own achievements? Many thanks.
Thank you, Redemption, for your submission. And thank you for the possible solutions that we have pointed out. We want to look at the church, as a solution or towards restoration of Zimbabwe. So in our submissions, let's also say, what can the church do to correct what has gone wrong in our country? Because I'm sure we all here agree that there is something that's not right. So in our deliberations, let's seek solutions. Let's just not point wrong things, because without solutions, we are going nowhere. At this time, let me call upon the real to give their submission. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. But I think before I give, you can just give to CCN before I'm finishing up something.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Ranga. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Maifa, and thank you, my brother there. Hello, Dr. Maifa, my brother Denford, and everybody on the platform and listening today. This is a very good topic, very interesting. I think it affects all of us. And Dr. Maifa Muruguti tinopa vanhu facts, what we call informed consent, right? What if you do this, what does it mean? If you do that, what does it mean? And inini ndandiringoda kungotiwo hangu hallelujah, hallelujah in the name of gold. Today I'm speaking as a citizen of Zimbabwe, and in the name of gold, which is the topic here, I think the church obviously has shown that it can be abused. And that has happened not just in Zimbabwe. It happens across the world, by the way, and which is why I think Dr. Tadini was on point in terms of Kuti. This is competition, right? Democracy is competition. So if you're going to get the votes in church, you go to church, you get the votes. If you're going to get them in the ocean, you go to the ocean. If you're going to get them kundari kuneenda vamwe, you go kundari kuneenda vamwe. I think the problem comes when our leaders, whether it's been government or in church, coerce other people or their followers to say, because Dr. Rangavano support NC, Saka, since Dr. Rangavari pastor, it means that anybody in this church muswakati go and vote for NC. That's absolutely wrong. I know in this country, in America, Trump, I love my evangelicals, right? We had all these pastors for Trump, right? And it's absolutely his right as a politician. It's absolutely ED's right as a politician to canvass for votes wherever he can find them. And it's also true for NC or Chamisa to do the same, and any other politician. I think it's then incumbent upon us as citizens, how we take those entities. Number one, we should never be coerced. And I can tell you a very living example. In 2000, before when Obama was running for office, there were a lot of these evangelicals who were against his presidency because they said he supported more progressive issues like Nyazima, gays and lesbians, stuff like that. So because of that, some were actually made it a pulpit issue. And unfortunately for some of us, we found that too much because I went to one church in Florida and they started talking about Obama and the fact that he supported gays and lesbians, abortion and stuff like that. And they said anybody who voted for Obama in the last election should come to the front, to the altar, so that we can pray for them, so that they can be delivered because you sinned by voting for Obama. So, long story short, I walked out of that service and I've never gone back to that church. I decided, I contributed monies and so forth towards that church, that pastor, whenever I would attend my conferences out. But the moment I realized that their politics just didn't match up with my beliefs, I just left that church and I've never looked back. So I think that all of us realize that my pastors out there, some are very corrupt. We are learning now. That's our challenge. How do you know who is a corrupt pastor, who is part of the gold mafia, who is a genuine pastor, who can direct people to God to do the right thing? That's our part as citizens, to do the due diligence one way or the other. I don't know how we figure it out, but obviously, democracy is competition, is all I would say. And wherever a politician can get votes, whichever ways they can get votes, they are going to do that. They will even trick you, right? And some have tried to use rice, some have used my bicycles. That didn't work. So anyway, my good brother Denford and my good Dr. Maifa and my Professor Mpendero there, I think I should just end it here because I can go on and on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ragade, and it's always our pleasure to have you on the platform. Kana makuenderera mberi ndoziva kuti munorunura ndinotsika tambo. So I was listening to Redemption's submission, and I think it's very important that I personally revisit what he said. He spoke about issues to do with the people's conscience, to say this is a political game, and when ZANU-PF is using the church, is using the congregants to get more numbers, the question is, why would you also not reciprocate in order for you to get more numbers, unless and until your conscience thinks otherwise? Which is the question that I would want to give to people, to say, whereas ZANU-PF, Dr. Rangai was talking about nyaya dzemabhasikoro and rice. Kune vamwe MP kana kuti kansela atakambonzwa kuZimbabwe akaenda kunokambena nekapu dzesimbi dziya dzandinoona, and the number of people we spoke out against that, I'm not too sure kana akazobudirira, asi a number of MPs, especially in the rural areas, have actually managed to secure their seats through using those means of campaigning. So what we would want to talk about is my instincts edu, my conscience edu, especially because some of the things that I have realized, especially on the issues to do with my pastors, Shandisa Bible and so on, some of their practices are somehow blasphemous, and then conscience as a political actor, as a political leader. I'm sure Redemption, you have got something to say, but I just wanted to quickly just keep your question there. Let me quickly go to the real to give his submission. Then we'll go to Maxwell, so that we clear off those people who have just come in, and then we'll come to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My submission starts from understanding that what the church is from the background, even in the during the Roman time and the rulership of the Roman Empire. The church is called ecclesia, and ecclesia was the body of people that would help Caesar to rule the Roman Empire. So that is what the church is. That is the position of the church now, even in the political sphere. The church has to help the politicians, the legislators, everyone who plays in the politics. What they are doing, the church, whatever the church is doing, whether it's wrong or right, they are supporting the wrong things or the good things. It is the church, the role of the church, the duty of the church to be involved in political spheres of the country, right? Now, my suggestion to the problem that we have the group that associated them with the ruling party, like the pastors of ED. The problem, what I think is, I think Dr. Tadin has been mentioning it, is that there hasn't been a counterfeit of such organization. Let me take for an example. There was the video that we saw of Chief Charumbira speaking at a certain funeral where Chamisa was attending. I think it's the mother of Harare Mayor. He said something that is important. He said, you know what? Whenever I'm out of the country, I come into the country, ED calls me, the president, or calls me, where is Mambaru Kopi, Chichi. But the advocate doesn't do that. And I don't know why he doesn't or why he doesn't reach out. So I think even in the church, it is also like that. That is what I believe. That I think the opposition or the alternative government in waiting, it hasn't been reaching enough to the organizations or individuals or people that we think they have influence over the people. That is number one. There hasn't been enough for the people. They haven't been doing enough to reach to people who have influence enough on people who should be voting for the alternative government. That is number one. Number two, what I think again is the people that are influenced. We all have conscience like Kumbakwedu. If you come, if my mother now today, they say she comes and say everyone is voting for ZANU PF. Obviously, I'm old enough to ask you why. Why are we doing that? So it's number two again. It's the duty of every citizen, even at church. If your leader is doing something, it has to be questioned. Your conscience has to question the leader. Leader, is it okay? What we are doing here, is it okay? Does it align? What does the Bible say about this whole thing we are supporting? Because the Bible says when the righteous are in control, the people rejoice. But when they're evil, are in rulership, the people cry. So if you see the people cry, that is what the Bible says. So the thing is, the people that go to church are the citizens. So they have to question the leaders whom you all think they have the influence over them. It's not like you're programmed to go to, if the pastor comes and say, you have to vote for Triple C. No, we don't just vote for Triple C. We have to ask why we are voting for Triple C. I think that is my submission. Thank you.
Yeah, is it me? Is it Maxwell Sten?
Yes, go ahead, Maxwell.
Okay, yeah. For me, I disagree for the politicians to be like influencing people in voting for politicians somehow. Mostly, if you are to look at the way politicians behave, most of them, they oppress the citizens. So, and then for the pastors, it is wrong for them to be to be manipulating people, saying, you vote for this person, even when they know that God hasn't spoken, but they even mention God has told me. Can you imagine now telling people that God has told them to vote for someone who is going to oppress people to the point where people will be dying out of those same people that are oppressing, that will oppress them for more years to come. So it's better at least if pastors wants to say to get involved into politics, they shouldn't even mention God into politics, because the more they mention God, it's like they're even bringing the bigger wrath for themselves and even the people they're even manipulating somehow. because them, they will benefit from whatever they'll get from the politician. But after getting it, those who vote, they will not even get anything from what those pastors will get, or the prophets, or whatever it is. So somehow, for me, I don't even think it is right for politicians, for churches to get so much involved into politics. The main mandate for the church is to bring people to God. Now you go to politics because for them, they're going in there for their stomachs. They're not going for those church members' stomachs. No. This is why when they go to church, they will tell people to give, and they sell them hope. And it's not that it's wrong for me. I'm not saying it's wrong for people to like go and give in church, but I'm just saying some of them will tell you give. After you give, you go home. Sometimes they even get the last cent for your transport, and then you go walking. After that, they come out, they're walking in a Mercedes-Benz or a bulletproof car that is so expensive. And then if you look at the way it is, if you look at from the beginning of the Bible, the politics started with, well, I think it was about, I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but it started during kings. The people rejected the prophets. They were even saying, no, we want now to be ruled by kings, meaning politicians. That's what we can call politicians by now. Our kings now, it's the politicians we have now. Those people, they rejected prophets. This is why I'm against it somehow. And now with God, he gave us a choice. Even after giving us a choice, he says, if you desire evil, God will even allow it. Not that God is going to give you the evil. He's going to allow you to get that evil that you want. Then after you now find yourself in problems, you now, I don't know if you'll be able to realize or you will not, but politics started because people rejected God. They said, no, we want to be ruled by kings. And then God ended up telling the prophets, okay, fine, give them what they want. And he allowed it. So even here, our pastors, they may be doing this because they are rejecting God also somehow indirectly, and then following the politicians. And then when they go to the politicians tell them what to do. Hey, no, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll do this, we'll do that. And for them, it's their stomach. And you, the voter, you just vote knowing that, no, I follow my papa. And they have made a point that we should follow them. Like they've become our gods now. Whatever they say, we have to follow. It doesn't matter whether it's wrong or right. They'll tell you drink petrol, whatever, we'll drink it without even asking any question. They'll tell you go and do this or go and help the whole of your family. You will believe it because of what? They are our God now. And the problem also with us human beings, we don't go and read our Bibles also to check what the prophet has said or what the pastor has said. We don't read. We are too lazy to read. So whatever they tell us, we just take it as, yeah, this is the gospel truth. We don't read the Bible. This is why we'll keep on suffering and suffering because we don't even question. And if you look at it, even in the church, it's more like a dictatorship. It's more like a dictatorship because these people do is they just do what they just give us. It's more like a dictatorship. Yeah, they give us. It's like a dictatorship. You can never question whatever they say. Whenever they say it, you just believe it, and they choose scriptures according to what they want. So that's my submission. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maxwell, for your submission. Yes, Coma Champion has already mentioned the issue of dictatorship at the beginning of this space. So we want also to focus on Zimbabwe beyond the elections. Yes, we are saying politicians are going to the church leaders to seek for the vote, but what do we say about issues that the church is also allowing to go on, things like violence, things like corruption, things like drugs? So in our submissions, let's also be considerate of these things. And we already mentioned, not every church leader is wrong or is doing things the wrong way. Some people are really genuine and are working for God, but some people must have sold out, like the topic implies. I will give this time back to Coma Denford. I think he wanted to play something when he said after Maxwell will do something. So back to you, host.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Amaifa. But because we have got a number of hands that are up, I will play this one after okay, Redemption, you wanted to speak after somebody highlighted something. And we go on to Mkoma Tashinga, Elder, and Jabulo. Okay, go ahead, Redemption.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I also wanted to stress a point that, I hear so much passion in people's voices when they are speaking, and I understand they are speaking to what is supposed to be done and what's supposed to be happening. But here, let's do a reality check. Let's go on what is happening within the modern church, and let's look at the church that is targeted. There is a reason it's so strategic. They don't just wake up and say, where is another church to influence? No, 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 no. It's thorough, it's well researched for them to go to such a church or a particular religious group, which then tells you the story, how strategic it is, right? I'll give you an example. The churches that we have seen, they have a history of like how they have influence already on their congregates before they are approached by politicians. You understand? We have the apostolic sects, right? I will put it in a bracket, apostolic sects. Churches that will tell its followers that you don't need a vaccine, you are okay. And those people, they are so loyal to the core of their leader. They don't take their children to be vaccinated until maybe one day their leader wakes up and say, now it's okay for you. You can go and get vaccinated. All of a sudden they change because these are just like a flock, that only take heed of the word or of the voice of the master. You understand? So that's how influenced these people are. You understand? So then the politicians, they done their research and then they start and they seen that, now they go, they influence the leader to just utter words like, in this coming election, Mweyawati, voterining, it's a done deal, I'm telling you, right? Because you should look at the modern church where people, maybe you may not have not witnessed it. I have witnessed it firsthand in some churches. Maybe you might just have seen it on internet and then you think it's a joke. Where the pastor tells his congregates to go and eat grass or to spray doom, and people do it. But under normal circumstances, no man holds such power to influence other human beings to do such foolish things. You understand? So now what you are questioning the stupidity in people. But the question is, what are you going to do to influence them to think or to see the way you see? Absolutely nothing. There's already a man by the name of pastor, bishop, prophet, who already holds the keys to the minds or to the brains of those people. He's actually playing them like a remote control. If he say do this, they do. You understand? Then there is some stupid things which you hear and you will be full of shame, even if you are not the one who is speaking them. Like, for example, I will give you an example. To hear the president of a nation speaking in front of a congregation saying, tichakupai ma t-shirts, tinema t-shirts are tichakupai, and people clapping hands for that, you would say, I wouldn't expect the man of his caliber to just stoop low and promise people an ordinary thing like a t-shirt, and moreover, the church people, to be wearing political t-shirts. But then he did it and it stuck. You see, so that's what I want everyone to understand right now. Do a reality check. You may speak to what is supposed to be done. It's okay. But with the modern church and the modern men of God we have, they have that influence. Maybe you haven't really do your thorough research right now. That's just how it is. And then maybe you may come up with solutions. Are you now trying to influence the men of God that please don't do this to your congregates? You are a man of God. You are supposed to be abiding to these rules and these rules. You are a man of God. You are supposed to be doing this, not what you are doing. And do you really think in your quest you're gonna achieve anything, and are you really gonna influence that man to change? That's just the question. Many thanks.
Thank you, Redemption. Because we have two new speakers, I think I will quickly go to them. And if you could please give your submissions in 3 minutes so that we go back to previous speakers. Over to you, number 2.
Thank you very much. The churches in Zimbabwe were already morally decayed when the rise of Hubert Angel, Passion Java, Emmanuel Makandiwa, this one who was selling chairs with oil, I'm forgetting his name. Basically, we're looking at the said prophetic nonsense that we started getting in Zimbabwe. That's when the decadence started. And when they realized that COVID came and they were no longer making money, they realized that the only way to make money was to infiltrate into politics and ensure that they keep making money. Because during COVID, churches were closed. They really had a serious struggle. That's when you see just after COVID, all of them start supporting ZANU-PF. All of them, if you really look clearly. It was a cry to try to make money. And that is where the sadness part of it comes. I think it was end of last year when they also, like the previous speaker said, they targeted the apostolic sect, and we even had leaders from apostolic sect saying white people are, what do you call it, the children of the devil, in front of the president, a president who's got more than 3 or 4 white people in his cabinet, and people were clapping, right? The moral decadence is at the highest level. The church in Zimbabwe is dead. And it's so sad that people continuously even either go to church or support these institutions. They are no longer what they should have been. They've become money-making institutions for the pastors and the preachers. And I think going forward, it is clear, as it is written there, they have sold out. They've sold out to white capital monopoly. They have sold out to politicians that can keep them in whatever they're doing. They have sold out to crime. They are practically sending the message of the devil. They've become the prophets of gold and not of God. They've become preachers of gold and not of God. It's clear that their center core is to enrich themselves and their families and not for the spiritual growth of the Zimbabwean citizen. For me, the best foot forward is this: ignoring the churches and making sure that you just vote out the decadency that has erupted our society. That's the best foot forward. The best foot forward is not to vote someone because they are given an honorary pastorage or they are claiming to be pastors, but because you know that the only way forward right now is to vote out what is destroying our country. Plain and simple, ZANU-PF has destroyed the society from churches to any institution whatsoever. And they have actually been participating, these institutions, especially the churches. They are the ones that are reaching out to ZANU-PF. And ZANU-PF is welcoming them with open arms because they want the numbers, they want the votes, right? So all in all, there's got to be a separation between politics. This is for the majority in the electorate, the voters, us, because that's the only way to move forward. Separate your spirituality, your church, and your vote. Don't let these individuals influence your vote. There's got to be wisdom in how you're going to vote next election. Thank you.
So thank you very much, number 2. Before I go to Tafadzwa, can I just give you just 3 seconds to answer this one? If you would not answer, you cannot answer it. If given a platform to tell people, would you reveal who you are going to vote for in the forthcoming election? And if you can reveal, who would you be voting for? Thank you.
Definitely, I'm voting for Nelson Chamisa for president I will not review who my councillor or my member of parliament is, but definitely I'm voting for Nelson Chamisa beyond reasonable doubt. He's the only foot forward. We need to clean our systems, and it starts with moving out what's there and giving Nelson Chamisa 10 years, whilst everyone else with their political parties are fixing themselves, and then we have a foot forward after that. After that,
Thank
I don't
you.
know who we're voting for.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Tafazo, go ahead.
Thank you very much for affording me an opportunity to speak. My first contribution, I think the church is being misrepresented because the church itself is not being given the opportunity to speak in terms of the contribution of the church on the political space. If we had invited the church to speak, maybe and answer to the topic, sold out and being disgraceful, I think it was going to be fair for me. But I would like to say Nelson Chamisa is also a pastor. He has been to churches, preaching or whatever, but his presence in those institutions creates a social contract. So the church has done quite a lot. When we define church, we also differentiate a church and a cult. And coming from the church circles, the church has done quite a lot, including voter education. Actually, for example, let me give an example. Zimbabwe Council of Churches has done voter education. Zimbabwe Council of Churches has also been present in the observation of elections. Currently, there are a lot of things that have gone out, and has issued actually a lot of statements which we believe that this is the voice of the church, and has engaged the government on quite a number of issues that they think maybe they should also represent the minority, or that the government should also give preferential option to the poor. So my plea is that when we have such discourse next time, why don't we invite the church? They speak for themselves. They speak what they've done from a neutral perspective. Whenever we talk of, whenever we have something that maybe we allegations or anything, maybe we'll do so maybe after hearing in terms of their contribution. Are they itching? Are they scratching where it itches most as a church? What is it that they've done? According to me, the church has done quite a lot. The Constitutional Assembly in Zimbabwe is a babe of the church. It was formed by the Zimbabwe Council of Churches. So if we say the church is not doing anything, I think it's not being fair. Why don't we invite them on these spaces, hear their voices, and hear what they think, and also maybe interrogate some of the writings from the church. They are called Kairos documents. Go and read the Kairos documents, what the church has written, what the church has spoken about. And we've said that the church is sold out. I think we may be wrong to label, to paint everyone with the same brush, because maybe there are one or two elements of corruption of maybe certain individuals, or maybe one or two things that we may not agree with. I still maintain that the church still has its saltness and is also doing quite a lot in relation to contribution towards the development of our nation as Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Tafazwa, for your submission. And I totally agree with you that the church has done quite a lot, but it's only some who are labeled as church, but we have already explained that there are also cults in Zimbabwe, which people in layman language will label as church. So we apologize for that if anybody has been offended by our topic, but those rotten apples under the umbrella of church are the ones that we are specifically targeting in this discussion. And thank you, Tafazwa, for what you as part of the church is doing. At this time, I think Dr. Tadini had his hand raised. I will go over to Dr. Tadini.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I was having a problem with my connection, but yeah. I'll try just to give a short one. I see that we have a lot of people want to speak. The first one that I will put is, who is the church? So if you start labeling another church to say this is a cult because they've done something that disagrees with you, just know that they'll point back the finger and also call you a cult. So we cannot separate the church. And with all due respect, my brother, we are also part of the church, because the people that are talking about are here. Yes, we might include atheists and other religions, but we also include the church goers. And we can see what is happening within the church. So even without a direct invitation to the leaders of churches, we are still the church. And the question is important: what is church? And you will never be able to answer that question. That's what I am telling everyone here. You might think that your denomination is right and that maybe the apostolic faith are wrong for whatever practices they do, but they will come back with exactly the same argument against you. The 250,000 that gathered the last time to bury Mutuma, I'm forgetting his name, it will ring, who say you are the ones who are false. So that's why I say it is important, therefore, not to try and separate and say this is a cult, this is a church. Rather, the importance should be in finding those that resonate, because you asked for solutions, host. Find those that resonate with your message and then give them the power, and then give them the solidarity, give them the belonging, so that they can also speak with a strengthened voice, such as those that are opposing you. Because we cannot run away from the politics of it. And there is none of us here who has the power to speak the Mapostori into not doing what, into changing their behavior. There's none of us here who has the power to speak the apostolic, the modern church, what do you call them? The ones with the miracles and stuff, the Pentecostals. None of us has the power to change them to now adopt a new way of doing things. But what we have is the power to gather those that agree with our movement. This is a solution. So it is speaking still to what I mentioned before, creating a counter movement to the movements that have been presented that seem louder and which you might disagree with. You see, create the counter movement. That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing that I want to touch on is a strong messaging to remind people that the ballot is private and it's a secret ballot. So even if your pastor says go and vote Munangagwa, in the ballot Munangagwa and your pastor will never know who you actually vote for. And that is the most important message. The most important message is for people to know that even if Sabugu and Chief say that vote Nelson, no one will know when you are in the ballot. Even if your mother says vote Robert Chapman because he's colored, no one will know when you're actually in the ballot. Whether you opposed them directly or you simply nodded the head as a follower and as a congruent and you looked at the floor and you shouted amen, you still have that liberty to go against whoever is trying to influence you. And I have to put this in quotes. This remains an attempt of influence. No matter how much force is tried to exerted, if you can still walk into the ballot yourself, it is merely influence that is being expressed in different forms. And you can resist this influence. Let us empower our people by giving them the knowledge that this is a secret ballot. Hatisi kusumudza roko tonzi orit zviyave kwamarangi hamuna kuzoteerera pakauya president kwamarangi tiri 250,000 tichida kuwega mutuma hamuna kuteerera. And no one is going to know, you see. So that is the most important message that I think we have removed from the politics of Zimbabwe. Maybe it is because everyone is openly declaring, which I need to support. So everyone thinks that I have to declare also, and then I have to act in that manner when I get into the box. No, the box is secret, and it is secret for a reason. Lastly, I want to touch on the issue my brother Maxwell said, to say maybe religion shouldn't enter into our politics. I have to say, I agree with brother Maxwell. It's too late. Politics is at the center of religion, is at the center of Zimbabwean politics. Christianity, to be more specific, and it has been used as a weapon ever since elections became meaningful in Zimbabwe. So it is too late for us. It doesn't speak to our reality. Our reality is religion is part of the game. Christianity is part of the game. How do you benefit? How do you best manipulate it? And I think the best way to do it is to create a counter organization that gives strength to these other leaders that to us. And even in those that have declared on behalf of their congregants, remember this is a game of power. There are always people within the same institution that are jostling for power. People within the Marandi or Maposto sect that are jostling for power. If you can't get the top head, get the second most top. And then they will come with their crowd and they will give you support. Because at the end of the day, this is a game of numbers. And not
yes. I'll give you 30 seconds, please. Some other people would want to come up. Go ahead.
No, it's a marvelous discussion. I don't want to hog the mic. I will say, guys, let's play politics. Let's remember this is politics at the end of the day. And Christianity has been introduced in this as part of the chessboard. So let's manipulate it. Let's not think that if we preach, some people will avoid using it. They won't. They won't try. No morality to speak of. Maybe what is their conscience? They have no conscience. If they have done it before, they would do it again because conscience is tempered and they've tempered and hardened theirs so that they can use this instrument. If you want to come to the game, use the instrument or find the counter that can nullify the effect of them using the instrument. Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa, Delford, my brother. With due respect, I'll create space for the others.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kadin. And if so, we can always. But thank you very, very much. I realize that Mukoma Njabolo, Elder, and Tashinga have been here for quite some time. But Chandino Shu and Chukuti deal with the people whenever Pindaman imagine then to so just be here with us for now, and let's have Baba Shona and Native to speak, after which we will get our older guys to speak. Baba Shona.
What a privilege. Thanks, my brother, for bringing this topic. You see, this issue, I once discussed it with my treasurer, who is Z, Citizen Z, the role of churches. And in our discussion back then, we realized that churches are always involved in politics, and church is part and parcel of politics. Since 1800, when the colonizers came to Africa, the then Ethiopia, they used the Bible through their churches, and they managed to control politics and change the way we used to do business in our own borders. So today, if we want to separate politics and church, I don't think we have any there as is ordinary Zimbabweans, because already we are part and parcel of the system which came to us, and we accepted it to be part and parcel of us. So at the end of the day, my brother Denford, you realize that politics and church is like hand and glove. They will always move together, because the politicians will go to churches because there's numbers. Churches will always come to the political leaders because probably they want A, B, C, Ds, right? I remember very well there was a FM conference in Masvingo where Chamisa was there, and it was a youth conference, right? And that was after 2018 elections, if I'm not mistaken. And then you realize that Chamisa, him being a child who was born in AFM and raised in AFM, you cannot separate him from AFM because he's now a politician or he's aspiring to be president of Zimbabwe. You cannot do that. You cannot separate today the Anglican, Roma, Seventh Day, and others to say you should not participate in politics. You cannot separate Baba Guti, Baba Mtendi, and today we don't depend also of politics, because before 1980, these individuals, Wanababa Guti and the other guys, they were already in politics. You see, some of them, they were participating in the war. You see, so it's a very, very complex issue if you want to look at it. At the end of the day, Pandino Pitana Nemish, my politicians, or for them to behave like politicians. Vasiye my political my church jackets are my political jackets. Yeah, then it's another story altogether. But the truth of the matter is, let me land by saying,
Saka imimi Baba Shona mimi, where exactly or how do you gauge kuti munhu uyu akubvisa jacket rake reupastor then akuda kuita a politician? Because so are you condoning a situation in which Taguta mwana waTaguta anofamba naED vachienda kunungudza vanhu kuti panapa munofana kuva muri munovhotera ZANU-PF? Is that not being a politician, a church leader like that?
You know, that example, I'll also give you the same example to say, okay, fine. Nelson Chamisa, when he goes to AFM and say people vote for me, or he goes to any church that he can praise to people who are in that, because he's a politician, you see. So that's why I'm saying I'll then have some problems with those individuals now who then say he's a church member, but at the same time he want to be in a political playing field. If he wants to be in a political playing field, you know, just come out clear and say, now I'm a politician, I want to do politics. So people from my congregation, probably they will support him, or probably they will not support him. Like what Tadino was saying, ballot box, it's a secret thing, you know. But we have this thing for the next 100 years again. It was a system which was created not for us, but created by the people who came to us and colonized us, and they used that same tactic. And now the same tactic is now being used by the modern day politicians. So we shouldn't even cry about it, because that thing, it was used before to us. Unless if we are saying we are now going into a situation whereby we say we don't want churches in our communities, in our borders, then we start to have another system altogether. Then it's another story. But as it is, my brother, I can tell you for a fact, churches are playing a pivotal role in politics, uniting people, feeding people. Those same people are the ones who are going to vote for any political party. Those same people are the ones who are going to, bring peace or fight one another. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Maifa, I just wanted to highlight to Baba Shona, Kuti, I'm not engaging you, but I don't remember at one particular moment when Advocate Nelson Chamisa vakaenda ku congregation akanoudza vanhu kuti voterai Triple C. I'm yet to be informed about that. But thank you. Back to you, Dr. Maifa.
Thank you very much, Bashona, for your contribution. And it's true that it's difficult to separate the church from politics and from everything else that goes on in life. And before I go ahead, host, please bring up the people who dropped. CC Nep, Maxwell, Tafadzwa. I've been trying. I'm failing to bring them up. At this time, I see we have new speakers here. We have the native. Please, the native, go ahead and give your submission.
Oh, thank you. So some of what I wanted to say was already has already been raised by my, so I'll try to be real quick. So I have really strong opinions on the role of religion or the church, in this case, in society and in politics in particular. But for the purposes of this conversation, here's what I say. I think that there are two things that we need to be aware of when we are, making these arguments. I think there are things that we want to hear, things that what we wish things were, and then there is the reality. What do we want to hear? What do we wish things were? Like, we wish that that the church was independent and the church could, was powerful enough to swing one way or the other. The church could, decide. And when we say the church, we're talking about the leadership of the church, because that's just how it works. They could, decide who they want to vote for. They are free, and everything is fine. Because I heard another speaker invoke the church in the United States and in the UK. But we need to understand the church in the Zimbabwean context. And what is the reality with the church in the Zimbabwean context? The church is under siege, just like everybody else. The church is under siege, just like the judiciary, just like everything else. And it also needs to be saved. Really, it needs to be saved. And how does that happen? It's not going to happen by talking to those leaders, those dishonest leaders that have. Look at the caliber of the leaders, the church leaders in Zimbabwe today. They are not going to come up with a solution. And I agree partly with the solution that was proffered by Dr. Tadini here, to say that it's. When you go, the solution here, in my opinion, is political. It's the politics that is allowed, or whatever is happening with the church today, to fester. So the solution here being political, it can only be solved by elections, voting, talk to the people, as general, the public, talking to each other, talking to our family members, to say that when you go up and vote, your vote is secret, no matter what your church leader says. Just go and vote, and this is the only way this can be solved. The church really is not. We can't expect those church leaders who are inviting politicians to their pulpit to say this and that, to say anything against whatever the government, the ZANU-PF in particular, is doing. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Dr. Amafa Murugula Baba Samim. Okay.
No, it was your turn.
All right, let's have Mkoma Jabulo, Tashinga, and Elder. Can we give each other 2 minutes, please, so that we can accommodate an overwhelming request that we have here? Please, let's have 2 minutes each.
Okay, thank you. I'll just say this, guys, to us, especially when we speak to the church. If ever we are going to evaluate and judge the church and the church leadership, we shouldn't judge it from a political standpoint and say they have sold out. It will be quite amazing if we're the church supporting the opposition. What will be the people in the ruling party or the governing party saying about the church? They will be echoing the same, because they will think, you know what, the Bible says, pray for those that are in leadership, do this. There is a lot of scripture that says you should support the government in the Bible there. So some of them will stand up and tell you, you know what, we are doing what the Bible tells us to do. So when we judge any church activity, let's judge the church when we are in church for church reasons, not for political reasons. Because once we start judging the church from a political reason, we will miss the whole point why the church is there. Because the church is not there to save us. The church is there to serve God. And once we establish that the church is there to serve God, and our opinion on how the church should run, it's a matter of what you believe at the end of the day, because they are doing it from a consciousness that what we are doing, we are serving God to our best ability as the church. So you'll find these pastors that you think might have betrayed you or might have sold out. To them, they are serving God to their most faithfulness as a people. And also to also say something else that is different. Let's also remember that we are Zimbabweans first. and we have chose a religion second, and we choose also a political party, at the end of the day. So these things, we can do all of the, we can be in a political party and be at a church, and be involved in all of these things at the same time without it encroaching over another. Because somewhere, somehow, you cannot go to a pastor who has been faithful, who doesn't cheat, who doesn't lie, who has been faithful to God, who goes and is part of ZANU-PF, and he sits there on a daily basis and he decides, okay, I think I'm going to bring a change in ZANU-PF by me being here, and you start saying, no, you have sold out because you are standing with people that have killed. Maybe his intention, it is to evangelize and to bring change to those people, maybe those pastors that are calling themselves, in closing comma, Denford, maybe those pastors that call themselves pastors for ED, they have said, you know what, we want to go there into the government and bring the necessary change that the government of Zimbabwe needs. Once we are there, we are going to influence change. We are going to change the government within. We are going to change ZANU-PF within, because we are God's people and we believe God can do anything, and we are willing to be used by God to bring change. So let's look at it from both perspectives, so that we are not misled, or we don't cast doubt on the role of the church at any given time. Because if we want the church to perform political roles, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to belong to a church that does not support the political party that you support. So we will end up clashing. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Sorry, someone. So thank you very much, Mkoma Njabulo. And I think you could not have been part of us when we started. The issue for pastors for ED was just but one example of the issues that we are talking about here. And I'm not too sure if the topic says Zim church leadership sold out on Triple C or any other opposition party, as you might want to perceive it. I would want to give you the context under which I thought, which is of course subject to discussion, you see, because I would want to believe every discussion that we might have could not have a conclusive answer. Why I personally think that the church sold out, both those that you might assume to be church pastors for ED, even the conventional churches that we have, like the Reformed Church and so on, that you could also perceive to be the ones that have got a stance against the government. Well, if you think like that, let's take a typical example of this gold mafia expose by the Al Jazeera thing. I know maybe it's because I don't read this. I don't read so much. You see, for now, for the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, I have not so far had any comment or its stance on what it thinks about this thing that is happening on a number of political issues. Because as we always engage people along the way, we realize that sometimes when you ask people from within the church, sometimes they really say some of these subjects we do not discuss because these are political things. So when we are talking about the church selling out, it is not because this church is leaning towards the regime or because this church is leaning towards the opposition. But in principle, when we realize that our resources are being plundered, it doesn't need you to be ZANU-PF. It doesn't need you to be Triple C. It doesn't need you. It needs you to be Zimbabwean. And when we are having a vacuum of statements to be said by the church, definitely this is coming from Denford, not from Dr. Maiva or anyone else. That's what I believe, of course, which is subject to contestation. We have been talking about the issue to do with the this pastor who was involved in these things. This is selling out. This is selling out because we thought he was also a church leader who is a moral compass within our society. But guess what? He's actually practicing these things. But we can take so much of our time discussing about this. But I just wanted to highlight this thing that I am not saying only the pastors for ED are the ones who sold out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mkoma Denford, and thank you.
Oh, okay. Can anybody hear me? Am I audible?
Who is speaking now?
Hello. Okay. So my brother
Can we
Denford and everybody here, you know, the issue of church leaders, for me personally, I'll tell you this, I'll take it like this. Church leaders have failed dismally, not only in, in guiding people rightly when it comes to selecting the rightful leaders that are God ordained, but they failed us even as in our rightful societies. Look at the way they address certain issues, the way they articulate on so many things. They've come to a point where everything is just bonga bonga. Vanongoita zvinhu. Church leaders are responsible for even breaking up so many families through the way they articulate things. So surely we cannot keep trusting or entrusting or expecting anything more of these church leaders. They are said to be righteous people, but now they're advocating for anything that's not righteous. So it is my duty, your duty, every patriotic citizen's duty to inform our members of society and advise each other on who to vote, advise on each other why we are voting for this, what to vote for, what to expect from a proper government, and what to expect from a proper leadership. It's time we harness and take and be the front and the lead on all this change that we need. We can't keep talking of the church because the church is busy fighting its own battles. The church itself is most of these churches themselves, they are fighting even the church leaders within those churches. Church leaders vatora zvinhu vapampa this church stands atorwa chakati chatorwa, everything is in the church leaders name, but it's supposed to be church property. So what are they doing? They're showing the same similarities as the leaders VeZANU PF wacho vatiri kuti church leaders have sold out or whatsoever. So these are two corrupt entities. Why do you think they would say otherwise? Ivo vari kubawo mumachechi avo, so it's common for them to side nedzimwe mbavha, but it's not up to you and me to discuss as one another as citizens on what we want, where we can get it, and how we can get it. We are right when we say paunopinda ballot box unovhota uri one. So even if the church leader comes to church and says they vote for Ningi, even if they bring ED, iwe chako chawaendera kuchechi uri kuchiziva, you are there to pray, you are there to praise them, to worship the Lord, you are there to listen to the word of the Lord. So you do just that, know what you are in church for. Whatever that the church leader then comes and says, hey, we need to vote for this person, we need to do that, wakapiwa njere dzako dzekufunga. You know, I always say God gave us the precedence to be who we are and to paint what we want. He did that because God gave us a choice. Vakatiratidza nzira inoendesa kudenga, vakatiratidza nzira inoendesa kugena. Dei vanga vari Mwari vanobatirira vanhu vaingoti izvi ini ndine nzira 1, iyi ndiyo nzira yatinopinda nayo chete ifamba, but vakati no, munhu wangu iyi nzira yakashatira zvakati, iyi yakanakira zvakati. It's now up to you to choose which way you want to take. So the same way we choose which ways we want to take is the same way we go and then select which way we want to take on who we want to vote. The leader is there to guide us, but these leaders are human. Vanotokanganisikawo, vanotobawo, vanotoita zvavanotoita for their own selfish reasons. So you and me have got a duty. You and me tine basa rekudzidzisana nekutaurirana kuti shamwari toda kuwina chakati, shamwari toda kuachiva chakati, toita sei kuti tigoachiva, you know. Those are the things that we should be looking at. We can't keep looking at the state leaders who are responsible for taking other people's wives. These are people who are already failing in their own individual capacities before we even talk of them being able to denote the Lord's work when it comes to leadership. When it comes to that, they fail dismally because they continue to endorse regimes who break the 10 commandments that the Lord has outlined for us to follow, to abide by. So who are these church leaders? Mwari vakataura mubhaibheri vakati haasi vose achati mwari mwari, kuchauya maprofita enhema achaita mapipi nemapitsi vachati mwari mwari, zvinoshamisa zvokuti you would think they are the righteous souls, or you think these are the men of the Lord. So we have to be careful amongst those people, but we can.
You are muted, Tashinga.
You know, we cannot all be open our eyes at once. Let me land there. For now, let's advocate each other where to vote for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Koma Tashinga, for your submission. And as we go towards the end of our program, I'll ask Maxwell and the native to drop and come back again so that you give your last submissions. I'm failing to pull you up. And I'll give this opportunity to Dimensions to give us a 3-minute submission. Over to you, Deep Dimensions.
Thank you, host. Confirm you can hear me.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I will just try to also submit my submission. So that at the end of the day, we then see whether we have answered the topic that we have. Listening to the submissions, there was a submission, I think, about an hour ago, where someone said, when we talk about the church, the constitution, or the greatest constitution that we should refer to is the Word of God, which is the Bible. So looking at the Bible, because the church is the bride of Christ. So looking at the Bible and what we learn from the Bible, the church which was started by God should reflect on His personality, right? The church which was established tikaverenga kuna X 1 2 3 4 5. We see the kind of church that God wants. We see the image or the direction which the church should take in society, or the position the church should take in society, as God wants it to be. So fast forward to the nowadays, because I see we now have a tendency where we are trying to equate or to compare or to put politics and the church and try to see how we can compare it. But as far as what God wants, the church should be above politics. The church is above politics, right? The church should influence politics. But what we have in our society today, especially context here, is the opposite. Politics is now influencing the church, when the church is supposed to be above politics. When I say above politics, I'm not saying the church should tell us who to vote for or what, but the church should influence our decision.
In this called for a tribunal to be established to investigate.
Sorry, I think there's someone talking. I'm not sure. So, to go ahead with my point, the church should be above politics, right? But now we have a church which is submitting to politics. I think in our context, because of the economic situation, we have church leaders maybe who are benefiting from politics, or church leaders who are trying to benefit from politics, and also some church leaders probably who are in fear of politicians. At the same time, we also have politicians who are using the church or abusing the church for their benefit, especially these churches which have huge numbers. Obviously, those huge numbers, any politician would feast on that. Not to say that we don't have churches which are doing the right thing. We have churches who are trying to stand for the truth, who are trying to stand for the correct doctrine, but obviously they are suppressed. So, in conclusion, what I think is, it might not be the situation at hand, but what I think is the church should be above politics. Our church leaders, right? Our church leaders should be guided by the greatest constitution, should be guided by the Bible. Their decision making or their leadership should be rooted in the Word of God, so that they are not easily swayed or easily pushed to and fro by politicians. In Christianity, there's a saying which goes by, if you are in a situation, before you make any decision, you would say, what would Jesus do? So our leaders should reflect the person of Jesus. They should ask themselves before they do whatever they are doing, to say, what would Jesus do in those situations? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission. And as Dr. Maifa has rightfully said that we are nearing the end of our space. We need to have the next speakers just to speak out their minds and giving their concluding remarks. So I'm gonna start with the Maxwell.
I'm here. Can I speak? Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah, with me. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead in your 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, with me, I still stand for what I said before, that the church, but okay, like what the previous speaker said, I really concur with him that the church is above the politics. But the problem we have now is that the church has been changed into a greedy place where everything now it has to be about maybe one person, and even the church now, it has even become more than Jesus himself now. They even feel they're bigger than Jesus himself, even God. That's what, if you were to look at even the preaching that are going on in the church now, it's like even God is even smaller than the prophets and pastors that we have now. If you look at in politics, they say, scratch your back, I scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. But so pastors, they go with that same term. They'll go telling the pastor, they were the politicians, scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Meaning, give me what I want, and then I'll give you the people, I'll give you the numbers. So whatever politicians are doing, they know what they are doing. For them, they even know if we give pastors, the greedy pastors, if we give them money, then they'll just do whatever we want. We just tell them we want this, and they'll do it. We want you to talk good about us. And when they're talking good, they will still mention God. No. This is the voice of God. God told me, you fought for this one. The people without realizing that what they're being told is the pastor has been scratched. Like last week, I heard there was one of the pastors who had the church and so forth. While he was running his church, he won lotto. After winning lotto, what did he do? He closed the church. Can you imagine? Isn't that greediness? Now, our pastors now, they'll get the money from politicians, and they'll get even the smallest amount that even the church members have. Even when they know that this person doesn't even have anything, he's coming from home with hunger, he's even walking, going to church. The person comes to church with the cents or whatever it is, they will still grab it. Now, can you say God will do that to his own child? These pastors are supposed to be doing what? To be looking out for the poor people, the poorest. Because if you look at what Jesus did, the Pharisees, they were like politicians. Now they became like politicians. This is why he was even went against them, because the way they were running things now, they became too greedy and they became the holy of holies and everything. And then whatever they said had to go. But okay, they said they were following the law and so forth. But most of the stuff they were doing, some of it, they were doing it because they wanted to show that they are the ones who are on top of everything and nothing else. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Brother Maxwell, for your submissions. We keep praying for our pastors and our churches all over the world to stick to the word of God. At this moment, I thought we had no new speakers. Now I see Mambo. Ndingadzingwa mudunhu kana ndikasavashedza. Mambo wevanhu.
Thank you, Dr. Amai. Thank you, everyone here. This is a very interesting topic, if not a little sensitive. I speak as someone who is deep-rooted in church here in North America, and someone who is also deep-rooted in the politics of our country. Deep-rooted in church because I'm a former Secretary General of CFI, the biggest organization of Zimbabwean churches here. And we organize one of the biggest conferences in North America every September. So I will not take the route of painting every church and everyone who is coming from church with the same brush, because here in North America, we've had a very good relationship with church, although it didn't begin like that. There was a time when we started Pamavi. Dr. Gugere will tell you that I would not even find one pastor who would want to come and preach on Pamavi, North America, because they did not want to be associated with politics. But through talking to them, through interacting with the pastors, the prayer lines, and the churches, and us, the people from the political world, going to churches and preaching and talking to them and giving information, showing them that we are a different formation, especially us as Triple C, that we believe in church, we believe in God. We have seen and we saw that we are not like ZANU-PF that have, everything, the arms of war, they have the automatic weapons, they have the money, they have everything that they can use in a war. Here in Triple C, we don't have all that. We have the people. We have the citizens. And once you have the support of the citizens, you have the people, and then you have the favor of God, you can win the struggle. Zimbabwe did not become free. ZANU-PF, not ZANU-PF. Us as Zimbabweans, we did not free ourselves because we had superior weapons. We freed ourselves because we had the majority of Zimbabweans, majority of people on the side of the struggle. And that's what we have. So we came to that realization here in North America, and we have built a very good relationship with church. And I think you saw last week, we had a very successful prayer conference where we invited over 9 churches or 9 prayer lines or representatives from prayer lines. They all were rushing to come to that prayer conference. They wanted to be part of it, but these are churches, these are big organizations. The pastors that were there represent big organizations and big churches here, Methodist, Zayoja, they were all there. So I know that there are some churches, there are some organizations that are doing very well, that are standing with the people, that have decided that they will stand on the side of the people. So those, we are thankful, and we continue to encourage other church organizations and other churches to, take the side of the people. So, but having said that, we expect more churches to come on board, more churches to condemn what is happening, to condemn violence, and to issue statements, especially with regards to the Al Jazeera document. We haven't seen much. We haven't seen more churches, especially when we have pastors that are implicated, pastors that are part of the road, pastors that are contributing to the, suffering of Zimbabweans. We expect bigger churches, bigger organizations, religious organizations in Zimbabwe and beyond to be commenting on this and condemning what is wrong, because that is what the Bible says. That is what church says. That is what church is about. You condemn what is wrong. So we are still to see those churches speaking up. We are also still to see the Zimbabwe Council of Churches issuing a statement, and we have to continue to speak up as Zimbabweans so that we put pressure on these church organizations. We put pressure on the Zimbabwe Council of Churches to issue a statement condemning what is happening. And that can only come when we, the citizens, are doing
Guys,
what we are
can we
supposed
hear
to do.
Mambo? I can't hear Mambo here. Is he
Um,
talking?
Can you hear me? Can
Yes,
everybody hear?
yes. Go ahead, Mom.
Okay. So we can only continue to do what we are doing, and I must thank everyone here, because we have done that very well, talking to the people, educating the people. Last time we were talking about everyone here taking responsibility, speaking up, writing about what is going on, coming up with posters, coming up with videos. We have seen videos, we have seen posters that are being posted everywhere. It means citizens are taking up the initiative, they are acting. We're not just coming to the spaces, we express our anger, and then we go back home. At least we are beginning to do something. We have seen citizens in the UK talking about or organizing demonstrations. I know the UK will be demonstrating, they'll be in the streets on the 18th of April on Independence Day, because of course there's no independence to talk about. So it's a very good day, very perfect day to go and protest. Here in North America, we are also planning our protest. We are not doing it on the 18th for strategic reasons. We want to go to the embassy when the embassy is open. So we'll be there on the 21st of April. I know South Africa is planning something, and for sure, Zambia will be in the streets next week. They've already written to the police, and they've been given a go-ahead to do that. Botswana was still talking about it, but the overall response from the citizens, from the people, across the world, wherever Zimbabweans are, has been phenomenal, and that's what we continue to urge Zimbabweans. Let's not be people that get information and we don't do anything about it. Let's be people that get information, they get angry, and beyond that anger, we still do something about it. And of course, beyond the demonstrations, beyond disseminating information, making people know that this is what is happening. I've seen people, translating the documentary in many languages, Tonga, Sitsonga, and Ndebele, Shona. Now we have had people that are trying to get flyers in the rural areas so that they know what is happening. But beyond that, we need to push for more action. We need, as Champion Fadzaima here said, we need a forensic investigation into this. We need a commission of inquiry. We need another Sandura commission. Those who were there when we were growing up during our time on a wheel of motor industry scandal. We had a Sandura commission. That's what we want right now. We need to push for that. And it should be, a wide-ranging commission that takes participants from the region, from the international community. And I think that's why Champion Fadzaima called it an international commission, because we want South Africa to be involved. We want our region, Southern Africa, to be involved. So there has to be people from there. And we also want the international community to be involved in that investigation, because I presume we are going to unearth a lot more corrupt activities. A lot more should be going on. I don't think it's about gold only. Obviously, there are dealings in diamond, there are dealings in uranium. So what we are seeing really right now is just a tip of the iceberg of the corruption that is going on in Zimbabwe. And that's the reason why, I get annoyed when we still have people that come here on these spaces trying to cajole people or trying to romance the people that are here into believing that Emerson Mnangagwa is blameless in this, that the leadership of ZANU-PF is blameless in this. They are at the root of all this. And we want to, come together as Zimbabweans and put pressure on them so that something happens from here, because they are to blame. Emerson Mnangagwa, his children, his relatives, the people around him, they need to take responsibility. And that's something that we as Zimbabweans should be doing, because there are people that are in UK, that are in America, people like Dr. Mawaza and some people, Varakash, Wandrukuona Banaba. You're living in developed world. You have to know that if someone does something wrong, if someone messes up, you should have that aptitude to make them take responsibility. We are expecting to see people from ZANU-PF, including ZANU-PF members of parliament, ZANU-PF senior leaders, also condemning what is going on. Because when the so-called leaders mess up, especially the Mnangagwas of this world, it's not them who get messed up at the end of the day. It's the people of Zimbabwe that get messed up. And the people of Zimbabwe are across the board. They include ZANU-PF supporters. They include members of families in ZANU-PF. We are all affected at the end of the day. So why are we not coming together in condemning what is going on? So really, let's continue to push for more action to be taken. Let's not let this whittle down, and come to nothing at the end of the day. Because right now they are saying, oh, these people they make noise and then they keep quiet about it. No, we need to do more. Let's have these demonstrations. Let's continue to talk to each other, and let's talk to the UK government, to the American government, to the German government, to the governments of nations where we are living, so that they get involved in this. We need to get FBI involved. We need to get all the anti-crime organizations in the world involved in all this, so that at the end of the day, there will be prosecution, and the people that are stealing from the people of Zimbabwe will take responsibility. Thank you so much for the time, Dr. Amai. We appreciate the good work that you are doing. Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mambo Sose, for such submission, and we always follow your guidance, and we are always happy that you come to follow our conversations here, and this is so overwhelming. Like we said, we are getting to the end of our space. Let's have the Elder Chikwana. I'll give you your 2 minutes, your parting remarks.
Thank you, Commander Ford. Okay, on my parting remarks of my closing rights, I just want to say that a church is an institution where people goes and gather and fellowship to God, not to gather into a political term, not to be participating into political terms. A church is there to pray for governments, to pray for leadership, not to be included and involved. This is an affiliation which they put them to take it. So they thought that, yes, people have got that belief that Christ is our Lord, is our Savior. We believe in Him. We go to the church, and that is where their belief is. So now they're turning it around, using it in a different perspective, where people now being confused, being redirected into a wrong direction. So that movement called Pastors for ED is totally wrong, complete wrong, because the word from the start taught us to pray unto God, not unto men. Right. So if you endorse a man, now a man is now another king, is now another master. So now a church is having another master. They have got Jesus Christ as their master. Now they have ED as their master. So how many masters are they believing in? Now these are two masters. So it is quite complete. It's a very complex. It needs to be narrated in a rightful way. People, they need to understand a church is a body of Christ. A church is where we go to church, we fellow worship, we put our cries unto God, we put our request unto God, we pray, Father, hear us, Lord. We pray to you for such this and that. Not to say we have now been narrated to follow up a leader. A leader is just a leader. We pray for him. Not to say that we endorse him. We pray for him. If we have to vote for him, we vote for him. Not by being narrated to be directed. So if you don't vote for this leader, you are not going to get another 15 years lifespan. But if you vote for him, God is going to give you 15 years span. Who is that? Is that God? This is now only a court. Churches are now being turned to courts, yet it's supposed to be a governing board of people. God spoke about it. A church is a group of people who gathered and pray unto the Lord, not us now having issues in different government bodies. We now have pastors for ED, a profiter for ED. This is all wrong. People have moved from Bible and create what is their own. Now people have turned to those back in those days. People are now moving to endorse a man, not God. Thank you, Mkomaden, for let me drop with this. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Elder, for your parting shots. Because of our time, we are going to reduce our talking time to 1.5 minutes because we have a prayer meeting coming soon after this. And I kindly ask the host and also Pendoro Wenkua to pull up Dr. Ranka and Maxwell so that they give us their parting shots. Mkoma Champion, give us your parting shots, please. Champion, he might be busy. Let's go.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Taurai Mkom.
All right. Thank you so much. There are just a few things that I wanted to mention. The church, yes, of course, the church is doing good, and the church has been trying to be doing good, but the churches that are there now, they do have got some of the problems, because I will just mention, because there is no time for me to explain much, because I just wanted to say, remember, church leaders are also egocentric, and also some churches have got what is called the patronage structure, especially the Catholics and whatsoever, and the way how they do. Then the dictatorship also uses religious leaders to mobilize. And remember as well, religious leaders at some point, if they don't benefit from a change, I think we all know that they will resist change in one way or the other. So that is one of the things which I wanted to, but remember, religious leaders can mobilize the society and try to, so that's one of the things that is being exploited by the politicians, because the ability of them to mobilize the society and change the narrative of the political environment of the day, it's something that our politicians try to explore. So with that, I think I will just end there and say, let's look into our, or let's introspect our lives, and let's introspect our churches where we go, because sometimes churches becomes detrimental in the sense that they spread the message that is against what you view, even personal development, because they say, oh, if you are going to be like this, you are not going to continue to follow us. The same applies with politicians whom we have today. They are allowing our country to be found in what is called underdevelopment trap, because they feel threatened by change, because they think if the country changes, then they are going to lose power. Thank you so much.
Thank you Mkoma Champion. Toenda kuna Mpendero Redemption. I'm not Shinga would want to speak, and then lastly we have Dr. Ranga.
Thank you, President. I think that this conversation, it was very much important to have a Bible verses being read here, but it's still okay. I wanted to say that in our country, above all, we have maybe the way I understand leadership. I think everyone else understands it the same way, that we have the God, then we have the Bible, then after the Bible we have here the constitution of our country, then the Bible and the churches and the constitution of our country, they have to be synchronized in a way that they don't violate. Maybe I have to include our culture as Africans, as Zimbabwean, to say that they have to link, they have to respect each other's boundaries, because when we have the Bible which confirms that one should not maybe kill, maybe steal, and all other the remaining commandments, and the Constitution also emphasizes that, and our culture also emphasizes that. So now that we have some of our pastors, some of our church leaders who still don't say a word, don't say anything, and when we have people being killed, we saw people being killed in Harare, in Blawayo, in Mashingo, wherever across the country. But these pastors, they will come and tell you that you have to go and vote, you have to vote so and so, you have to respect your leaders. But they don't have anything to say when the same followers are being murdered, being killed, are being abused by the leaders. Of course, we have to respect authority, but above that authority, we have a written document which we have, which is a supreme above all of us. So I think there maybe I heard people saying that we have to listen to these pastors. It's still fine. We have child marriages. We have pastors who do not even say a word when it has happened, even when, especially when they know that politicians were involved, they don't say a word. But this is where the leaders have to come in and say, no, this is wrong, and we have to condemn it to the last extent. Then maybe I wanted to thank everyone for just listening. I pinned a link to our YouTube channel, Reshaping Zimbabwe. We are streaming this conversation live on YouTube. You can listen to it later. Maybe you want to reference it, you can listen to it later. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you,
Okay, yeah,
Mpenderonika.
thank you. Oh, sorry.
I don't know, is it Dr. Ranga next or Redemption?
It's redemption, and after which we'll get Tashinga. Please, let's prescribe to the time that we allocated each other.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want earlier on to respond to Tafadzwa. Unfortunately, he's gone, so I will use that, which I wanted to ask him as my closing remarks. Yeah, he mentioned that the church has done so much, but the question was going to be to him, I don't see that church that has done so much. The reason why I don't see it, because it's so silent, that kind of church. The only church that is vocal right now, it is the church that is influencing people to vote for a particular party. That's the church I hear every day. So my question is, where is that church that is doing so much, right? Then, in my closing remarks, if the church feels that it has a right to talk or to tell its congregates who to vote, I wonder then, why doesn't the same church then feel obligated to question those whom they've asked to be voted for by their congregates to hold them to accountability, and then maybe turn around and say, remember, we are the ones who asked our people to vote for you, you know. So now we need to question you in regards to service delivery, in terms of providing medication for our people, in terms of questioning the leadership of the people whom you've asked to congregate. So we don't hear that voice of that church. We only hear it when it's questioning the people or when it's coercing the people. So I was wondering, where is that church? That's just the question. So I'd say, in all equal opportunity, as part of the solution, we need to be vocal. And I also want to say thank you very much. This is another platform of doing such, and you never know how many people may take heed of this, because information is power. Sometimes when you question each other on this platform, it's just for you to elaborate your views, but not that we are against what you are speaking to, but we want you to elaborate it so that the information can get clear to our people. So in my conclusion, I would say, if that church doesn't then speak for you in terms of what you would want to question to the leaders, that church has no right to tell you whom to vote. You might as well show them the middle finger. Sorry for my French, but I think I put it in a good way. Many thanks.
Thank you. Over to you, Nkoma Tashinga. Tashinga is muted. Maxwell, brother Maxwell, I'm failing to bring you up for your conclusion. Tashinga is still muted, so over to you, Dr. Ranga.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maifa, and my brother Denford. As always, it's a pleasure. My brother Redemption, we don't raise the middle finger in church, we still gold, Anyway, I would like to thank you guys for affording me the opportunity to talk on this issue. All of us are involved. Most of us go to church. Most of us have interacted with politicians in church all over the world. So my closing remark is what my brother Redemption was talking about. There are good people everywhere. Okay. So today we have pastors for ED. We have pastors for the citizens, like Mambo Shoshe was talking about. We do have CIOs who are abducting Zimbabwean citizens today. We have CIOs who are saying, why is he doing this? And we have people today who got ED, some of whom agree with what he is doing, some of whom look at it and say that's wrong. Why I'm saying that is we all have a responsibility as Zimbabwean citizens, whether we Christians, we're agnostics, we are Muslims, whatever our background is, to stand up for the truth, whichever truth, however we understand it, so that nobody abuses our situation, our membership, our taxpayer dollars. It should never happen. There is never a good excuse like Shosho was talking about. So, but if we don't stand up, someone else will stand up for evil. So let's stand up for what is good. Let's demand accountability in those who lead us in churches, in those who lead us. I have no problem today with Ubet Angel leading his church because some people believe in what he is doing. But I have a big problem with Ubet Angel being a Zimbabwe government employee with my taxpayer dollar, your taxpayer dollar. We as citizens need to say no to that. And we need to say to each other, church congregants, listen, it's your right. Vote for ED if you believe he's the best man for the job. Vote for Monzora if you think he's the best man for the job. Vote for Chamisa if you think he is going to make your lives better. It's your right. Nobody should coerce you. And we should not be afraid. Right now, those who have been implicated in all this gold mafia fiasco that is unfolding in front of our eyes, they are actually afraid that we citizens are going to stand up and say, enough of this. ED, you have lost the moral high ground, which you never had anyway, to tell citizens what's legal. You have lost it because you are instituting stealing of our resources. You can't be arresting people like Honorable Wiwa Scala for superior charges. We should be arresting you as citizens because you are the godfather. We should have as anger as Zimbabwean citizens. We need to stand up. We need to speak up. We should never be silenced, whether it's in church or wherever else we can speak as citizens. I am angry because these people, they brought out the military to shoot our brothers and sisters in August 2018 on the basis of some superiors, whatever. Now we know they did all of that out of self-interest so that they could keep looting. So that's why the righteous anger comes in. That's why it comes in. And
the gods are very angry. We, the citizens of Zimbabwe, are very angry. Let's put an end to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ranga. Back to you, host.
Yes, thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ranga there, and we are so happy that we have spoken out. We have spoken our minds. But Dr. Maifa, let me steal your 3 minutes. And oh, by the way, Tashinga Angasata Tauraka, Tambukutaudza, Wakangwaka. Get your 2 minutes, your 1.5 minutes, Tashinga, please.
Sorry, Omana, anyways, let me just say from what the last speaker said, he's very right. You know, like I always say, mine is an echo chamber. We all have a duty and an obligation, which is to vote and vote for what you believe in. Vote for the leader that you see is formidable to push your agendas forward, to push the kind of Zimbabwe that you want. Hey, you don't want you want to, then go ahead and do it. But to know that every day is for the thief, one day is for the owner of the house. And who are the owners of Zimbabwe? It's us, the citizens. And that day is surely fast approaching, where we will send you and the rest of your thieves to Chikurubi, Mono, Pezamakuta, smuggle cigarettes and soap, because Magara Munungo Bandos, when you had Mchaba beans or cabbage, you don't know what you're going to do there. So, guys, let's continue, register to vote, let's continue to encourage each other to vote. Let's continue to pray to God. You know our agendas that church. Let's be one Zimbabwe. Let's be united people. Ukanzwa anosapota mbavha, tsvaga background yake kuti hasi mbavha here, ukaiwana musungise or advocate for them to be arrested. Vari kunze uko vachitora vachiita noise that Zimbabwe is good. Vachirakasha vanhu. If you find out their details, vazhinji vari on asylum, send them back to Zimbabwe. Let's continue to vote and let's vote for a better government this time in the August. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure being here. There's a lot. I enjoy a lot watching my fellow brothers come up and take arms. Surely we are not cowards. Come if things push comes to shove, we know what we're gonna be Namsango. Thank you. I love you all. Peace.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Tashinga. Dr. Maifa ndokupai mukana wenyu asi ndanchiti ndoda kubiraiwo just 2 minutes. Mukoma Masawi has been requesting. Can I just quickly give him his 2 minutes to say what he wants to say? Maxwell in here and he has spoken.
He wanted to give his parting remarks, but he dropped. Maxwell.
Okay, so let me quickly give Kunam Koma Masawi because he has been there for quite a long time. Yes, go ahead, Masawi. Masawi,
hello.
Yes, can you go ahead?
Okay, ndatenda hangu host. Inini hangu ndakatarisa musoro wenyaya iri kutaurika pano iyi. Ndoda kuti nditangire pekuti izvo chakatanga chii politics naivo Mwari pachavo. Ndobva ndaona kuti Mwari vakatanga edu isusu vanhu. Nokuti tikatarisa kubvira pakakonana Abel naKaini tinobva tatotanga
ndakupa 2 minutes waMasawi please, 2 minutes only.
Alright, rega ndingoti mbija. Tikatarisa pakakonana Abel naKaini tinotanga kutoona kuti Abel akanga achitoziva zvaidiwa naMwari. Asi Kaini nekuda kwekusatevera haana kuziva zvaidiwa naMwari. Kura Mwari ndechekusateerera pfungwa dzaMwari. Mazvoona manje ndichochi chinozoita kuti shoko richitaura kuti kuchauya vaprofita venhema vachati gomo regoridhe sumuka kubva paZimbabwe richienda kuDubai. Mazvoona manje Why? Because chiprofita chacho prophet whatever zviri kuitika zvacho nevatungamiriri ava vemachechi vari kuzotiisa mumatambudziko akafanana neatinawo nhasi ndechekuti havachanamata Mwari musiki, vakunamata zvido zvavo. Mazvona manje. Saka kana vakunamata zvido zvavo, vari kutoita zvido zvavo. Zvamwari zvitori parutivi. Ipi chete yavanoda kuzviratidza kunge vashandiri vaMwari. Saka munoona vanenge vakushedzwa kuti for ED. Vanogova for ED seiko ivo vakati ichechi. Vatungamiriri vemachechi. Kana vari vatungamiriri vemachechi ndevamwarika. Vanogozva vaED sei. Mazvona manje. Saka unhu wakafanana neihwohwo hutsotsi ndoma evil doers acho iwayo. Mazvona manje. Saka kutoramba tichivatevera chinhu chinotoratidza kuti nesuwo pfungwa dzedu hatisi kufunga zvakanaka, hatisi kuziva Mwari watinofanira tinamata, nokuti ivo mastewardzi, vafudzi wai dzamwari ndedzipiko, tisu vanhu vacho vanovatevera.
Thank you.
Ndatenda.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Maifa.
Thank you, Mkoma Masawi, for your submission. We keep asking God for His grace and mercy so that we're not misled and His people are not misled too. So I want to thank everyone who is here on the platform for your contributions and even for listening in, because it cannot be a Twitter space without any audience. And I encourage everyone to keep working towards the restoration of Zimbabwe. As we leave this platform in about 15 minutes time, we are going to be praying for Zimbabwe, regardless of our political affiliation. So follow my cuckoo, follow Mazmai, and we go and pray. Have a blessed week, everyone. Back to you, host. Sorry, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is pinned on the timeline there. Thank you very much. Back to you, host.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa, and ndinoda kutenda vese vauya paprogram ino, and hopefully next week tinoenderera mberi nedzimwe topic. Asi ndisati ndaenda ndanga kuti ndi-emphasize a point yekuti kubva pekutanga ndanga nditaura ndichiti this topic we deliberately put it up here, and we expected that we will be having sort of backlash. Unfortunately, personally, I was prepared for that. Truth shall always remain. Chakanaka, we don't demonize good things that are coming from our churches. Zimbabwe is there because there's a lot of contribution that came from the church. Unfortunately, among the churches, there are some that have just, I'm not too sure if it is because kuti vanotengwa here kana kuti nyaya yekuvhundutsirwa kwatataura ikoko, but nyaya iri kungoitika ndeyekuti vanhu vedu they are being misled by these dubious characters dzinouya sevekereke. Saka tichairamba tichienderera mberi tichiti personally, but those people that are close to me and those people that think that zvandinoudza zvinenge zviri nani, ndezvekuti I would want to say I wouldn't want anyone to actually tell me who to vote for, because it is me who actually has to decide kuti munhu andinoona anoita zvakanaka ndeupi. Angava pastor, angava ani, they've got to make sure that ivo vanoziva munhu wokudii wokuvhotera zvienderana nekuti zvakamirira sei. But thank you very much. Tichipedzisa kudai rega nditi vanhu muteerere this small clip iri pano, vanoda kuenda munenda henyu. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week.
Inini pandishanda kunovhota ndinenge ndakabatwa nemweya. Upiswa neBhayibheri ndashara kuspiritu sana. Ichisa ex wangu pana vamunangano. Ela poshistem. Osakabirirwa nemweya museni. Saka pamaelection arikuya aya. As prosper the result. Ndalipira fundo ishabwira zvine dzimba. Ndikuzakuya kusera vesero. Saka ndinopeta zvane. Vana vecho vati South Africa. Yes, there's a igreja. Tipo 800,000 muZimbabwe. Somos unidos aqui nesse país. Chese chambochira vamunangagwa. Chonke vamuvhota vamunangagwa. Amen. Vachavhotera vamunangagwa. Usikale vhota vamunangagwa. Vachawedzerwa makore 15
And these are some of the things that we're talking about. Thank you very much, Zimbabwe. Until we meet again next week, God bless you.
Vekupinga vapuma, kukwekwe vapuma, kukokwe vapuma, zengeza vapuma, mukoba vapuma, kutitamisa imari, achatotungamira Zimbabwe, kungizo vapuma, kwa mutoko